This week, we're setting the popcorn time machine back to May 21st, 1980, grabbing our lightsabers and hopping in an X-Wing, traveling to a galaxy far, far away so we can learn the ways of the Jedi from the Master himself, Yoda. Strong with the Forces! But wait, Han and Leia are in trouble? Let's dive in, because I am your podcast.
We would be honored if you would join us.
And here we are, back again. Time to rewatch, rewind, and react to all your classic 1980s and 1990s movies. We are the Popcorn Time Machine. If you are not familiar,
we would be honored for you to join us.
Join us.
Take this adventure with us.
Dude, what?
You can find us over at Instagram and you can find us on YouTube, Popcorn Time Machine Pod. Be sure to like and subscribe, smash those buttons, do the thing you got to do, and tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your aunts and uncles and cousins and dogs and cats and everything else in the world. Of course, I cannot do the Popcorn Time Machine all by myself. We've talked about this many times. It is a very heavy lifting operation, and we have 4/5 of the cast today. The one with the Mandalorian mask on his table is the one that is missing.
He's on a mission.
Sorry, Jimmy. Yeah, he's training. He's training to be a Jedi himself. But of course,
frozen.
Finish
the training, Jimmy. Finish the training.
Yeah, Jimmy's frozen in carbonite. Let's get into intros real quick because I'm curious about this question, and I will pass it around. So obviously, I am Nick. And I will answer the question last because I can. Kevin, we have you with us today. What color lightsaber would you be rocking? What's your color for lightsaber? There's a lot that have been used, so I'm curious what everyone's is.
I'm going with the red.
The classic evil.
The classic Empire.
That works. Sil.
What up?
What color is your lightsaber? That sounds sexual. What color would you use as your lightsaber in a Star Wars environment?
My lightsaber would be yellow.
Yellow. Okay. Yeah. That one's been used recently. That was with Rey in the newest edition of Star Wars. Now, Diaz, I kind of feel like me and you might have the same one. So what color is yours?
I'm going purple.
I knew it. I knew you were going to go purple.
That just
Purple's my pick. The Samuel Jackson.
We're allies. Yep. That's all.
Yep.
We're anti-Jedis. We're Jedis.
Yeah. That was the fun little Samuel Jackson requested that his be purple when he was Mace Windu. And that kind of cool. Yeah. And it's cool because it's the blend of blue and red, so it's that uncertainty of where they land. So I really did like that. Yeah. Yep.
Identity crisis.
Purple. Yeah, I'll go purple. It was close because I really like. It's so basic, but it looks so badass. Is the white that Oscar? Was it Oscar?
Yeah, I think it's Oscar. Yeah,
Osaka. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but she rocks the double whites, and that one's pretty cool. But let's get into this movie because I'll talk about it later. But I have probably the ultimate Empire Strikes Back story to tell at the end of this. One of the when we get the ultimate reveal of the movie, I have a story, and I wish Jimmy was here because Jimmy was actually a part of this story. And Silvio, you know the person that this story is revolving around. Nice. It is really cool. It is really just absolutely bizarre. Like I couldn't even, the fact that I can't make this up will show like just how fun this is. So we'll get into it.
It beats the Danny Trejo story.
It does beat the Danny Trejo story.
I love stories like that. I love stories like that. I can't make this up if I tried. I love stories.
Yeah, I can't. It was just perfectly poetic, and it was just ridiculous. And it was not at my expense, so it's 10 times better. So we'll get into that when we get into that. Once we talk about that in our Real Talk segment, I'll kind of drop the bomb and fill you in because this is a ridiculous story. But obviously,
I'll have to stay for the whole thing now.
Have to. You have to. You're locked in. All right. So obviously, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, the second of the first trilogy, the first to kind of just be Star Wars, and then it turned into Star Wars 4, A New Hope, and then this came along as Empire Strikes Back. May 21st, 1980. This was directed by Irvin Kershner, who at the time was more of just a small-time character director. He went on to do RoboCop 2, but Lucas at the time, obviously the success of Star Wars just skyrocketed. The story of how it came to be is kind of interesting.
Skyrocketed or space rocket?
Skywalker rocketed.
Ooh.
Hyperspace.
Yeah.
Hyperspace Skywalker rocketed.
He blasted off into hyperspace.
Light speed,
baby. But after the release of Star Wars, it was a phenomenon. It wasn't expected. They always say in filmmaking, like, expect the worst and hope for the best. You know, this movie, when they watched the first cuts of Star Wars, it was just so comically bad, because at that time the editors were not kind of understanding what was supposed to be happening, so it was very vanilla, and they had just the voices so ridiculous. They had the voice of Vader, but it obviously wasn't James Earl Jones, it was the actor, so it was just kind of like a weird British accent, so it was no intimidation. C-3PO's voice was just not completely there yet, and they thought this movie was just going to be an absolute bomb. And theaters wouldn't even really get to show it. So the way they released it kind of slowly. They only were out in like 30 or 40 screens to start with. And then it started to snowball a little bit, and everybody was talking about Star Wars. So obviously we got to have a sequel. That was kind of part of George Lucas's deal. He was like, look, I'm doing this, but in the contract, like, he's willing to take less money for the right to, if this is successful, continue his story and tell the entire trilogy. And Lucas, I mean, his bet on himself paid off tenfold, because what he did was he took less money to do those, but he also took less money and picked up what everyone referred to as the table scraps. He said, you know, you don't have to pay me as much, but I want to have like the residuals on the merchandising and the licensing and all that stuff.
And that's all he needed.
And that's it. I mean, just think about it. That's one of the biggest brand names out there now, whether it's just merchandise. Disney is full of Star Wars. You know, the amount of money he made from that is way more than what any studio would ever pay him as a salary to direct these things. So it was a cool little story of how this came to be. Obviously, it's starring the same trio, the main cast of Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. This was a $30.5 million budget, and it recouped $538 to $550 million, which is just a ridiculous turnaround. It was kind of hoped for, but not expected. I remember seeing that when Irvin Kershner was approached to direct this movie, he was really hesitant. He's like, look, this is the second Star Wars. I can only fail at this. Like, there's no way you can't make a second movie that's as good or better than the first.
What had he done before that? Anything notable, or this was them taking a real big chance on him too?
Small stuff. I don't know how Lucas kind of got involved with him, but because he was really more into like that character storytelling, that's what kind of drew him to this. Because obviously Star Wars, it's a spectacle, there's effects, there's all kinds of madness, but at the absolute core of it, I mean, this movie is very character driven. This is very Luke's story. This is Han and Leia kind of doing their thing. Everyone's kind of branched off, but it is very character oriented.
And George Lucas said that the amount of stress that he put himself under to direct the first one, and he's like, I can't direct this again with the stress, my heart. Like he's like, I need to get someone else to direct this, because, you know, he wanted to be in charge of the creative part of it, but he knew he didn't want to be the director on this himself.
And it is very character driven, more than a lot of them. Like, it was very, very character driven.
And this was kind of around that time when obviously the success of Lucas was kind of skyrocketing. That's why he didn't want to spend all day directing on set, because he was setting up Lucasfilms and LucasArts and the Skywalker Ranch so that they can kind of be an in-house production company. So all the effects that were done in the first movie were very it was a, you know, shoestring budget where these guys were just making stuff happen out of these crazy models, and they were just, the talent was there, but their resources and where they were producing it, they were super limited. So Lucas took these people under their wing and was like, look, we're going to just set up shop and give you what you need. So I'm
And
curious,
I'm gonna
like,
spend some of that original Star Wars money.
yeah, to put it right back into it because he knows it's coming back. I mean, he foresaw this thing like nobody else has changed the industry. I mean, he absolutely put this thing out at the perfect time, and this came out right when just everything was so mundane and like just depressing. Like we were coming out of the Vietnam War, and like people just needed something to lift their spirits and be creative, and not just these beat down, just depressing movies. And this is something that was, imaginative, brand new, got people into the theaters and like actually had a good time with it. So I'm curious.
The original Star Wars was, they said, one of the first movies that created fans that wanted to be in the universe. It was like one of the first movies where people wanted to know more about the characters in the universe, and it was before the days of the internet. So fans were starting to get together and trying to be in that bigger than just a movie thing. Kind of like there's plenty of franchises now that are
think
a
of the one
universe.
line. It gets you from the first line, a long time ago in a galaxy. How is it a long time ago when it's so futuristic? That line sucked people in right there. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, it got people thinking about space and what could be out there.
Was there a movie before that where like you became like a nerd of a storyline? I mean, I'm sure there was, but it's hard to think of one.
Not to the scale.
Now it's a common thing where
Planet of the Apes, maybe.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, the TV
but
show.
You don't want to find out more about that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like not a.
Well, after that, that's a reveal. That's a big talk about a twist. That's a big reveal at the end of that movie too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like that only. I agree with you. Just that ending made you want to go, what?
Damn, how did this get here? What happened? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, look at the biggest stuff today, right? I mean, Still's wearing the hat. The MCU, the cinematic universe. This kind of kickstarted that because we have the Star Wars universe nowadays. It kickstarted
Harry Potter.
2 other trilogies. Yeah, Harry Potter.
Big,
I mean, Lord of the Rings, I think in text was out.
Then you have like softer like Twilight or the Hunger Games or like, and then Game of Thrones takes it to a different level.
Lord of the Rings books were before 1980, right? Right.
The books were, but
the movie obviously
movies, But I mean, this definitely took it to the scale, and that's funny too. Like a lot of those franchises we're talking about all are derived from literature. Lord of the Rings were the books, MCU was the comics, Harry Potter was the books. This was kind of a reverse.
It's someone else's world. Someone's world that they just and you start building of it, and when you put it into pictures, just okay. You said something that just caught my attention. You said the Skywalker Ranch. I just looked it up, bro.
Yeah,
Skywalker Ranch is ridiculous,
and that was his idea. Though that was just his thought. He said, "I could do this now. I got the money for this. I could."
He just set everything up, which is pretty cool. Because there's another. A little tidbit to George Lucas, but we can kind of get into that. And actually, we can talk about it now too. This movie ended up like pissing George Lucas off at Hollywood. He is like so anti-corporation, anti-big filmmaking. He was an independent filmmaker. It's crazy to think that this was like an independent.
Why he wanted to self-fund this thing, right? Borrow the money that.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
And the budget you said earlier, this was 30 million. The first one was only 11, right? Like it jumped that much in budget. Was that his money, or did he get backing for the second one?
He bankrolled the movie himself. I think he bankrolled about $18 million himself, and he used a combination of the money he made from A New Hope and a bank loan. But it obviously paid off. But another cool thing was once Empire was released, he got hit with fines. And so did the director for not putting the cast and crew's names before the film. It just jumped right into, the Star Wars. And that was a big, the first one, they were like, okay, whatever, like we weren't expecting much or whatever. And they told him, next time around, blah, blah, this is what has to happen just based off of our rules. And he didn't want to do that. That took away from the story. So he just didn't do it. And he got hit with a $250,000 fine They also fined the director. Lucas paid the fine for the director, but because of the fines, that pissed him off enough, he dropped out of the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, and the Motion Picture Association. And he just said, fuck it, I'm out. Like, I'm not playing your games.
Yo, that's someone that sticks to their guns, though. That's
like
that's real.
This worked out. Not like the guy from Godzilla is like, I'm gonna do it my way.
yeah, exactly. Going back 2 weeks, like, I make my Godzilla movie, and they're like,
watch.
okay.
Yeah, no. But I just read it. It did. This movie made $100 million more than any other movie that came out that year. $100 million more.
It held the title of biggest release for a while. Obviously, with ticket inflation and the blockbusters that come later, it they lost that.
Well, even in the
spot,
Star Wars franchise, for a good while, it was the biggest box office revenue. I think it's been surpassed by some of the later ones. But
Star Trek, was that after this or before this or same time?
During
TV show,
I believe.
The TV show predates it by a good stretch. I think Star Trek started probably in the
50s,
late 60s or 60s. something. Yeah, but it was
it
inspired by maybe like he probably watched that as a kid.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, right, exactly. But let's get into some initial thoughts because I'm curious about this part. No, I mean, obviously this is a classic movie and stuff like that, but I mean, what did you guys think of this? Do you remember like the first time you saw this movie?
Wrong guy.
I'm sure I saw it when it was originally out. I think for some reason I'm thinking I saw this one. Might have been in Wells, Maine at that small theater, but
5-Star Cinema.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it was last called, I think.
So and then I've seen probably so many times since then I don't remember the first time, but it had been a while since this and the first one. After rewatching this one, I realized it's been a while because some of the things stand out, and you're like, I don't really remember that nuance of it. So it has to have been a while since I've watched it, but again, as every scene unfolds, you're like, every scene as it unfolds.
Yeah.
I kind of remember the first time I saw it. I was young. What I remember was I liked the first one, but it dragged. As a little kid, I was like, it's all right. My dad loved these movies, so he made me watch them. Oh, that's all right. When I saw this one, the second one, Empire, I was like, it caught me a little more. It's more action packed. There was no real lull, and when it did have a lull, it was still interesting enough for me to keep my attention. And I was hard to keep attention as a kid,
right?
But the action, no, exactly. It was paced enough. It was you can see the jump in difference from A New Hope and this drastically in the action and the way it trying to lulls you in the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what I remember.
Yeah, I had my Star Wars phase when I was like a junior in high school. I mean, I figured like the only way to fit in the US, I had to know about Star Wars, so I forced myself. If I wanted to sit with the cool kids in lunch, like I had to, talk about lightsabers and things. Yeah, so
it's good to go back to like the original couple. It kind of really grounds you back into the origins of everything.
Yeah. I mean, I went to there was a Hollywood what is it? Not Blockbuster, but the Hollywood movie.
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. Yeah, it's a Hollywood Video by the house. Yeah, Hollywood Studio. I literally save lunch money and we'll go and rent one at a time. Watch them all. At first, I started wrong. I started episode 1, 2, and then they said no, and I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to get this thing right. So I started again.
Still skipping the fruit cup and the grilled cheese to watch a movie.
Yeah, I'm like having ice cream instead of whatever. So
he shows up to school. He watched episode 1. He's like, so about that Jar Jar Binks, that guy's awesome, huh? And they're all like, get him.
Well, right. Well, the thing is, like, I watch 1, 2, and 3, and then when I get to 4, it looks like crap because it's older. So I'm like, dude, how do you get? Yeah, like the budget? Like this one didn't do as well because like there's no.
It's crazy about that because you got to do. That's one of the questions I was going to ask later randomly. How do you watch this? Are you supposed to? The diehard fans will say 4, 5, 6. Then you got the people that agree. Oh, it's the sequel. It's a sequel series. So start 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, most people say if you've never seen any of them, watch them in the chronological. The story chronological order, not the release order.
Yeah.
Just because it's less to figure out, jumping back and
Right.
forth in the time
Yeah.
sequence. But
I do like that. I'm a chronological guy.
You like the 1 through 6?
Yeah, that's just kind of the way I got to do it. Just
this
movie, just rewatching it makes me want to
watch
just
so
do
the
those.
build up. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was definitely against that. So I think it was like May the 4th ago, I guess 2 years ago. We watched it with someone that never saw any Star Wars. They're like, "Oh, marathon, let's go!" And we did it from 1, 2, 3. And when we got to 3, I was like, "This might be a better way of watching it."
Yeah,
It's gonna drop in quality, like Sil said. By episode 4, you're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
But
you're going from visual effects to puppets.
yeah, that's the only
Like,
hard
they
part.
lost the budget,
The hard
budget.
part.
They lost
The
the
hard part's to get through the change in quality.
Yeah.
I remember watching these just as a kid growing up. We used to have the like triple feature VHS pack that had like the Darth Vader on the outside of them, and I feel like I watched this one the least. I don't know why. I think I always watched A New Hope a lot, and then I really liked Return of the Jedi, and I just think I skipped over this one a lot as a kid, and then growing up, as time went by, I went back to them, and I was like, okay, here we go. I was missing this one the
But
whole
a lot
time.
of people, this is like on their list. This is like historically been like
the Star Wars.
I'm the opposite of
one.
you, Nick. I watched this one more than the other two.
Yeah.
I preferred this one.
Yeah, and I think like going back now, like I know A New Hope, I'm like, it's boring. I get it, but like I think I always when I wanted to watch,
just say boring. What?
In comparison to the other Star Wars, it doesn't have as much to it. But I feel like I
all the
always
comments
went
start.
back.
Nick calls the original boring. Let all the comments start below.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess where is this for you in the Star Wars movies? Like, if you had to rank them, is this up? Is this the top? Counting, I guess even the new trilogy. Let's just go like episodes 1 through 9 or whatever. Like, is this up there for you as like number 1?
It's not for me. It's
no.
Like I said, you have to go back and watch like 4 and 5 to get grounded in the history of it. But obviously, the later ones they just are much
really good.
More. It's a better quality movie, right?
Yeah, it wraps you in a different way. You just like you're more immersive. I remember. I think I watched. I'm gonna butcher all these names. I'm not gonna say a lot of things. I like this movie. I like this one.
Let me preface this. I like Star Wars.
Yeah,
but
this one is okay. No, this was great. Actually, I really enjoyed this one, especially like Disney Plus did a good job making them look nice.
Yeah,
like I watched Disney Plus, it looks great. I mean, like puppets are puppets, but still, like it looks really good. It's high quality. I enjoy it.
That's like one of the things that I kind of hate. Like I want to see the original versions, like that were just like worse for the wear. Like if you're gonna alter it, at least give me like a choice.
The option to see the bootleg version, like
like I want to see the original, or do I want to see the remastered and retouched?
Yeah,
like
the vinyl one.
Yeah, because now you're just cheating, and that's a bigger issue that I have with like streaming and stuff, where like you're never going to be able to have an original now. Like it's always going to be altered and touched on. And
there you go, Nick. That's an idea. That's an idea for a streaming site right now. Regular, like classic or remastered. Like
looking
through. You want like the guy like. You want the guy stepping on the side, getting in front of the city.
Just one as the top. I don't know.
It's tough.
Could you guys pick? Could you pick just one? I mean,
okay.
I did like Attack of the Clones, so that was a good one.
All right, so do it by the trilogies then. And 1 through 3, what's your favorite out of the first 3? Like 1, 2, 3.
Jedi for me. 3.
Like Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Jedi. Like so. I'm like in the Empire. So this series. So we have what? New Hope. This one and Jedi. Jedi was your favorite?
Yeah. Yep.
In these 3, I like this one out of the 3.
Yeah.
Kev,
out of these 3, it would be probably The Empire Strikes Back, because it was only the second one.
Yeah.
But they took the characters and the storyline, and every scene like expanded the storyline. Like the first one, you could tell they almost could have made it as a single movie. Maybe they had the storyline and they had plans for it, but you never know if it's going to really work. But by the second one, you could tell that they wrote the expanding story in worlds and characters to say, this is the beginning of something that they left a lot of like, not necessarily cliffhangers, but they introduced a lot of things that they weren't going to follow up on, because they said, this is going to just expand the story So it was the beginning of that. It was kind of like they knew this is going to be bigger.
Yeah.
So, what about you for the bad budget ones?
Is that the trilogy of bad budget?
Budgets?
Yeah. No, I don't think I have a good say here. We're gonna lose
We'll plead the fifth.
all Star Wars fans.
Okay, no. If you had to pick between the
Yeah,
three,
no, and I mean an opinion of someone first time through is a valid opinion of someone that's first time through.
Well, the first time through is what I'm missing. So it's hard to give you
we'll get them there. We'll get them there, folks.
Well,
all right.
yeah. Well, I'll watch it because I enjoyed this one, and I think it helped someone like me. The fact that Disney Plus made them look nice, I'll say that.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not attached. Coming from a country where I used to watch movies where like people record them in the back of the movie theater, and you see the guy sliding with the popcorn, bro. Like, this look great.
This is way better.
Yeah,
Kramer from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
The VCR camera.
Exactly. This is something we used to do towards the end, but I want to do this before we get into the actual like meat and potatoes. And this is our running solo award, which makes sense. Solo. What's like the one thing that sticks out in this movie that like made it what it is for you? So Kevin, what's like if you had to pick one thing? And I say that because
I'll just refer back to what I just said, how they intentionally expanded the universe, not literally and figuratively. In every scene, they brought in more things you learned about. So I think it was probably the expanding storyline throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, we kicked off this movie in a crazy new planet that we'd never seen before, and we believe it. We're like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. That's out there in the world of Star Wars. Diaz, what's the like one thing that this movie did better that like stands out for you?
You said expand the universe. It kind of piggybacks off that, the expanding of the characters. You learn, you see Solo's swagger. You see more about Vader, how there's more to him than just being a villain. There's stuff with him. Like there's emotion behind his everything. You see him getting angrier when he's taking out all his captains and admirals and bodies are just dropping because he's having a rough day.
And he can use the Force through like
a TV
video chat.
Like you just the ever expanding of the individual characters, the character growth was big for me. That's one thing that I liked about this the most.
I just pictured Darth Vader like trying to go to the bathroom and he realizes that like one of the stormtroopers didn't replace the toilet paper. And he's just like, get Tom in here now. He's just in the stall, just choking out people.
Well, he has a high turnover. He has a high turnover of employees. It's like, you're the new bathroom attendant.
Yeah.
You're the new bathroom attendant.
You didn't say bless you when I sneezed.
That's so funny. When Lando's like, oh, like change plans. Yeah, I altered the plans.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
Frey, I don't alter
the deal.
I altered the deal.
I altered the deal. I'm like, all right,
like
I guess
ultimate.
Frey, I don't.
You think you were treated unfairly?
The ultimate cocksucker. This
guy's a dick.
You've seen that development. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He developed that.
And when he says that line in the scene, Lando kind of goes like this.
He knows what's coming.
And they're thinking like, is that a signal of like, I don't want the death choke? Was it intentional? Or was there more to it than that? Because he's
maybe that's
saying,
where he comes from.
Pray I don't alter it again. And he's like,
that could be where it comes from.
Oh my God, really? No.
I'm sorry. These are great terms. Great deal. I love this deal.
At least it didn't do what Dark Helmet does in Spaceballs.
Yeah. Like you don't want to be the real estate agent for Darth Vader, like it's like it's not a deal. The running solo for me, the Imperial March, the score for this movie.
John Williams.
Yeah, that was awesome. Because again, I've gotten a lot of Star Wars exposure, right? Like I've been to Disney, I've been inside the Falcon, I've been a Rise of the Resistance ride is wild, and I feel like this movie made me like, this is what it kind of clicked. It kind of clicked with me. And again, I've gotten different type of exposure to Star Wars, but when I heard the song, and it's like an introduction to like the bad guy, right? It's Vader. It's like they are in command. They are that was powerful. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh
And
shit,
that
okay,
Empire music that is so iconic wasn't in the first
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
This movie,
It wasn't.
this movie introduced it, right?
the first one,
They
correct?
got the budget.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when I watched
Oh.
Rocky, I didn't know Eye of the Tiger plays in the fourth movie or third movie. I thought it was like,
Yeah,
what
they're like,
kind of
oh,
a
it's Rocky
it
letdown?
might have been Rocky 22.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Eye of the
speaking
Tiger,
of-
Rocky. Yeah.
we forgot. I forgot something earlier when I was trying to say something, Nick. You know how this is episode 5? They weren't numbered till this came back to the theater.
Mhm.
The second release of this in that year, he was like, I'm gonna do a lot of these.
Yeah. And this isn't going to be the first. Like we jumped
Yeah,
into the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, speaking about the score, like John Williams, right? Is just all-time classic. I got the accolades right here: 26 Grammy Awards, 5 Academy Awards, 7 BAFTAs, 3 Emmys, and 4 Golden Globes. He has 54 Academy Award nominations, which is the second most nominated person after Walt Disney, which is crazy. I mean, he's done, if you've seen a movie, you've probably heard him. It's like he doesn't really miss ever. I mean, he's got Jaws, Star Wars, E.T., Schindler's List, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, and then even some of the newer stuff with like Harry
So a
Potter.
bunch of stuff we've never heard of, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've heard of those yet, but he's kind of been around the block.
Movies that have bombed.
Those shorts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Short
yeah,
movies?
exactly. For the running solo, you guys talked about the story a lot, so I'm just gonna go with, and we already ragged on them for being bad, but like the effects, like at the time, this was just mind blowing. Like having that Muppet style Yoda, but have it actually work out that well was something I think at the time really blew people away. Like it's so funny watching videos of the construction and behind the scenes of how these like little models are shot, and then to see it on the screen and you're like, wow, the scale of this is like crazy. Like they make this, Star Destroyer look gigantic when in actuality it's like, 30 feet long, and it's just like made out
To
of
that point,
plywood or whatever.
I mean, it's kind of a shame now, right? That CGI and AI or whatever you want to,
Takes
however you want to
that
talk about
art.
technology, did away with all that model building in movies. I mean, I know I'm an old guy being nostalgic, but you almost like, you know how things come full circle and become like vintage becomes new again. Like at some point in the next couple of years, there'll be this great movie, and they're like, we did it all with modeling, no
practical
CGI,
effects.
and I'd be like, I'm going to see that damn thing.
Oppenheimer, right? Like, I mean, that's
I-
Christopher Nolan's. Like,
I just
Right.
saw something today. The next Alien movie that's coming out, it's gonna be a practical alien. It's not. I don't know if it's Romulus or whatever. The next Alien,
Yeah.
no CGI on him. It's supposed to be all practical.
So maybe that's going to be a trend
That's it.
for a while.
Yeah.
you know?
And
I
it's-
just saw that today.
nailed
I
it.
miss that stuff because, like you said, Nolan does a lot of practical effects. Like Dark Knight, he did a lot of practical effects. Like when he flipped the 18-wheeler truck, like they actually flipped the truck. Like they pulled it with wiring and flipped it instead of just taking the easy way out and being like, you can CGI in it.
Yeah,
That
the
is
armored
the-
car and Heat really knocked the thing over.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you can't take away from a graphic design from a VFX artist, because it's still an artist and it takes time to build what they
It
build.
does.
Right? It doesn't allow you as an outsider to get immersed into what he's building, right? But now if you walk into a set and you see all these things, no matter how big or small, but they're around you, then you're like, whoa, I feel
Someone
a certain
built
way.
that. Yeah, someone built
Right.
that.
Like it's more immersive. And like all the shows that we watch in Discovery Channel and whatever growing up, like they were all about this massive set, massive things that were explosions, because that's what existed. Right now, you're not going to watch a show and be like, oh, this is Andrew. He sits in his computer 12 hours a day and he designs every movie that you've watched. Watch him design.
Yeah.
Watch him code.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
Like, you need,
eventually,
like, the
the entire movie will just be some guy working
Right.
his video magic.
And it's tough and it's like a grind, but again, you just can't get immersed with that. So it's
No, not at
harder
all.
to relate.
Yeah. So let's jump into the movie chapters. I kind of broke this down into chapters, and we'll kind of toss around scenes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you what I think is the scene from the chapter that kind of best defines that area of the movie. So we start out with the Battle of Hoth, which is, like I mentioned, a really cool introduction to somewhere that we thought was, you just believed you were like, okay, this is actually a planet. Like this exists. I'm already bought in. Interesting stuff. They filmed this in Scandinavia, and this was the worst winter in 50 years. It was 20 below zero, and there was 18 feet of snow. And there was the one shot, I think, of Luke when he's like out in the snow running around. They filmed that from inside their hotel because they couldn't get out, and they were just filming him out in the snow, and he was just freezing cold.
And originally Han Solo, his scenes weren't going to be filmed there. They were going to be filmed back at a soundstage or whatever, like the inside. Maybe he wasn't originally going to be outside.
Mm-hmm.
And when it changed, whether it's scheduling or however they changed the scenes, his costuming was designed to be inside and not really outside. So they're all in the real snow with costumes that were made to be in the real snow, except for him. His is like made to be inside.
And of course, he was the one that had to go out there to go save
And
Luke.
I think the day that he like shot his scenes, it was again that terrible snowstorm, and they drove him to the set on a snowplow or something. So like you said,
You know what's crazy? You talk about Hoth. Hoth was the ice planet. What was it? Batu or not Batu? In the first movie, Tatooine was like a desert planet. So they went from heat to cold.
Well, if you're going to set up a rebel
great.
base, like I'm thinking that if we get to pick from all these planets, let's pick one that's warm. But
Yeah,
there was no like paradise planet.
Yeah,
No.
is there one with like beaches and tiki bars? I mean, where's that cantina? That was warm where the cantina was, right?
The desert planet,
Yeah. I don't know how they even got resources. That's like us being like, let's go start, a base in Antarctica. Like, how do you even get power there? Like, what is?
But from a storyline standpoint, like when the Empire, like one of their censors says there's some life form, and they're like, oh, don't even look at that. There's no life forms there. It's an anomaly, or whatever. So maybe the point is they went there because it's the last place anybody would expect them to be.
Except Vader, who's like, that's it. They're there. And
Yeah.
all of his advisors were like, no, like they're not. And he's like, nope, Skywalker's there. I know he's there. They're like,
you're dead, new admiral. You're the new admiral. It's like instead of us sending out, if you know all this stuff just instinctively with your power, how about we save sending all these probes all around the universe and you just tell us where they are?
Yep.
Dude, Vader's like a dark Oprah. You're dead. You next. Instead of giving away cars, like you get a car. He's like, you're dead next.
He's every corporate boss in the world.
The amount of times I want you to go to a clip of him choking somebody. I want the same clip, Kev.
To land our troops beyond their energy field, then deploy the fleet so that nothing gets off the system. You are in command now, Admiral Piet.
Thank you, Lord Vader.
I thought it was very ironic and a cool storybook that this opens with a big old Yeti-style character getting his hand chopped off, and it ends with Luke getting his hand chopped off. Fun little bookmark there.
The little things,
Yep. It's pretty interesting. And I thought that was cool. I really don't think that Yeti character got his due. I think that character design was awesome. I was really hoping to see some more of that. Yeah, the Wampas. Yeah, I'm pretty bad with like Star Wars names, so you could just fill me in when we get there.
Every time there's a puppet or some sort of monster, the shots are always cut shot to move, so it's not like miss the details.
Mm-hmm. So the Imperial forces come and attack, and I thought this was a pretty big dick move on Luke's part. His gunner, whatever, Dak, the guys in the back, got killed immediately, and they tripped the tauntaun, or no, not the AT-ATs, whatever they are. The tauntauns are the little llama things.
There's two camps: people that say it's AT-AT and people that say it's AT-AT. But I think Lucas in an interview somewhere said it's AT-AT. So
AT-AT. All right,
take it however you want. But there's two camps on how to say that.
But pretty big dick move on Luke's part by letting his buddy's like dead body just get stomped on and crushed by the thing. I mean, it wasn't even like moving that fast. I mean, he's got the Force. Like he can't even just like unbuckle the guy. He's got to let his poor body get completely squished.
When did that guy die? In the crash? Because if you go back and
he got shot.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because the whole time when you see like Luke moving around, you just see a helmet behind him.
He's just like he got shot like immediately.
I didn't notice that still. I was dying when I noticed that.
Funko Pop.
You see Luke like Echo 6, Rogue 7, we're coming. And you just
you're good, right?
Go back and see it.
That's awesome.
But this was a cool like intro, right? Like we got introduced immediately to the Wampa, the AT-ATs, the Imperial drone. It just immediately didn't skip a beat. We got right into stuff. I also made note that 3PO was just being an annoying little bitch again. So they shut him off a couple times throughout this movie, but he's just
that was great too.
The worst. But if I had to pick like a scene, and you guys can throw your scenes out there as well, but my scene was what I think stands the test of time, and we can see this because we've seen references in other mainstream movies, is the whole AT-AT tripping sequence. That kind of what turned the battle, realizing, we can't shoot these things, but if we fly around them with the cables, we could trip them up. And then somehow, like after they tripped, they shot them once and then they blew up. So like, I don't know why they couldn't have shot them. Maybe being down on the ground makes them more vulnerable. I don't know. But that's the scene that I chose from this like Battle of Hoth sequence. But do you have other scenes that you think like kind of encompass this chapter?
It's the whole escape part for me, where we're trying to escape and get everybody out, and then we're gonna just get in the Millennium Falcon. That'll be our escape route. Yeah. So it's kind of perfect thing. Like it's just them. It's not like 10 other refugees that are like, oh, last train out, everybody get on the Millennium Falcon. No, it's just the core cast, and we're gonna get on it, which is perfect.
They could have got some soldiers on there too. Fucking assholes.
Last one's out.
Yeah, it's leaving with Dak's body.
So the command center is still staffed with people, and it's like, we got to get the princess out. And then next thing you know, somehow they're the last ones out. But
yeah. Any other moments during the Battle of Hoth? Or are we ready to move on to the next chapter? There's a lot of stuff that happened in here, but I don't want to. We've discussed.
I agree. I agree with you. The tripping of the AT-AT, that was like the thing in that scene.
They referenced that in Civil War, Captain America: Civil War. Like it stood the test of time. And I don't know if Marvel movies are.
This scene made me I don't know why I started making these comments, but I haven't fully watched Dune. However, the first part of Dune, when like the guys, meaning like it gave me the same kind of vibes where when they're meeting in that base and the guy's gonna go out, like Jason Momoa is like taking off, and the guy's like, "Don't go because you need me there." It was very similar in the moment of like Solo getting out there to go find someone, because I feel the connection. I don't know. It was some sort of, we can totally cut this. This was useless.
But so that chapter sort of ends with our characters kind of separating, right? You have Leia and Han, Chewie, and 3PO going one way, and you have R2 and Luke kind of going his way because we didn't really mention it, but Han,
shit.
But
the kiss.
The kiss.
The kiss.
I was going to mention that at one point later on in our rundown.
That happened
during their assault.
That happened during the
Hawk. That's why.
So we have that, but we also, before that, we have Luke kind of being stuck out in the cold after his battle with the Wampa, and he has this vision. Obi-Wan comes and tells him he needs to go train with Yoda on Dagobah, and he just keeps going like Dagobah, Ben. And I was like, okay, not the best acting there, Hamill, but sure. But yeah, so that's where they're kind of off to. So the next chapter is really just Luke's training. Luke gets to Dagobah and is introduced to Yoda, which is crazy to think that like he is like really one of the most iconic, and he's not in the first one. It's just it's really cool how this series continues to.
It's one of those things that
characters.
Like the Mandela effect. If you ask people, they would be convinced that he was in the first one, right?
Yeah,
like Rocky song.
Yeah, Rocky song.
It's like that Rocky song.
Am I the only one that like really hates Yoda's introduction? Because like he's just like the most useless, like just weird little creature. He's such a weirdo. Like he's eating Luke's food. He's throwing his stuff around. He steals a flashlight and he starts like slapping R2. Like this is the guy.
This is a spoiler. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
that's on my list as the best scene.
Don't do that.
Because it's like
Love it.
because Luke's like, get this little annoying prick, get him out of here.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So
no, he's
is
the
this
Jedi Master, and he's
So
playing you.
Yoda, I
He's
would
playing
think.
you. He's doing that on purpose.
so is that a thing? Is he playing it up? Is he like trying to be this like weird little thing, or is that actually him? Like, did like revisionist history? Like, you go back
Because
and
he
look
knows,
at the
he
episodes
already
1
knows
through.
who he is. He knows who his father was. He knows the whole deal. It's part of the test. It's part of the
Yeah.
test. You'll
So
be with Yoda soon. First we eat, and then
Follow.
again, spoiler. So I'm just going to repeat myself if we talk about the best scenes. And then Yoda just goes, "I cannot teach him. He has no patience." Like that's like, yes,
Yeah.
you've been had, Luke. You've been had.
So that was his test, just being
I
like
think
just an
idiot.
absolute nuisance.
it's kind of like the old saying, like how you. It's,
I don't think I could have dealt with this like weird little green goblin creature just like immediately eating my shit and like throwing my stuff around. I'm like, okay, guys,
Mine.
yeah, mine.
So
This
that-
is my flashlight.
that's the point. So you would have failed the test.
Oh,
And then
immediately.
you would have said,
Gone.
"Oh, Nick can't be a Jedi Master."
Oh, absolutely not. Gone.
Well, this guy
100%.
still failed. He did handstands with him on top, and this man failed. I mean, didn't
Luke-
pass. Yes,
Luke
Don't
fails
don't
everything.
leave. Don't leave. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Don't
they're
go.
gonna die.
I promise you, I will finish my training. I gotta go. I can't. I
Yeah.
just the first instance of like people are in trouble. I gotta go. But this is really like a Jedi Spartan race training concept that he's got. I mean, Yoda's got him like running and jumping over logs with him on his back. He's doing handstands. He's moving
that part's
X-wings.
Makes no sense.
It's very training montage. Like it's all
Yeah, like where was the music? Where's
you needed the
Yeah.
rocket. That's when you need Eye of the Tiger.
He should have like ran up a tree step thing.
Right? See, he
Like-
did one of these. That's one of Tarzan.
He's just throwing Yoda in the air, catching him.
Yeah,
like,
like a bunch of
"Whee!"
snakes. Those are-
Ah,
snake, bro,
wee. Look at me. I mean, in the air I am.
Okay, so to
Faster
Nick's
he
point,
runs.
like when the first time I introduced Yoda, yeah, underwhelming. You're like, okay, this is Yoda, right? And then again, I have the perception that he's a Jedi, he's the best, right? Yoda, and there's baby Yoda now, but whatever, that's not right now. But there's this guy is supposed to be awesome. He doesn't
you know that
necessarily
too. You know that because you saw the other ones first.
no, but like I don't. I guess you're right. If it comes out and I had no recollection, this little thing is okay, right? Like he's not a badass. But if I know what I know of him and I'm going back to watch his movie and this is intro, I'm like, dude, he doesn't do shit. He just pulled the thing out of the water, right? And I'm like,
He's
he
like
didn't.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Yeah, it could have been more badass.
Luke, wax on, wax off.
Oh, looks on.
On wax, off wax.
Yeah. Some interesting stuff that I did learn about this is Yoda has, when they went to kind of build him, they gave him sort of an Einstein resemblance, the Einstein wrinkles, because they knew the wisdom was a big part of this. And Frank Oz, the actor who, I say actor, but he was the puppeteer for Yoda, they were really stressed out on schedule. They were running behind. They had to start shooting. And he dropped the Yoda head and cracked it right before they were supposed to start filming all this stuff. And they were already rushing to shoot this out. So they're like, all right, well, I guess we're going to head out and somebody's going to have to fix that. The Darth Vader vision where Luke slices the head off and it's his face. That was a really cool moment for me. I almost chose that as like the scene, but I didn't. I just thought it was a very fun scene. It shows that, internal struggle. We didn't quite get the full meaning of it until we get to the end where you're like, oh, Vader is Luke, Luke is Vader. It makes a little more sense. I viewed it at the time. First go throughs when I saw this, I remember being very confused. I was like, wow, they just dropped Vader in here out of nowhere, huh? They didn't like intro Vader finding this like weird island swamp thing.
Jump right to the climax here.
Yeah, I was like, this is weird. And then he like struck him down. And I'm like, oh,
I like how they
that's
did
weird.
their
He
dreaming
was
sequence.
he was ready. He was ready.
Yeah. But the one thing I did hate is I absolutely hated the Earth animals being part of this like planet because I don't think anything from our world, other than like humans, really, and like their races are so different. Like there are some humans, but there's other races that type. But like the fact that there's just like snakes and iguanas just like lying around in the background, I'm like, I don't know. Like I know that like on our planet that's their go-to, but like they have so many animals and creatures in Star Wars that like, did you have to use a real practical iguana? I don't know. Did that do anything to you guys, or did you not even care about that?
Guess I never thought of it. But then
I only noticed I noticed it for that scene a little while ago when I watched it. It's the only time I noticed that animal when he was going into like the hole or whatever to go to fight mythical Vader or whatever. I noticed him go on. I was like, that's weird.
If you're going to use that rule, it's like, oh, it's in space, it's alien environments. Then you'd say, well, then why is there people there?
Yeah, exactly. That's the only like caveat to that.
They said that they gave up finding a place to film. Is it Dagobah?
Dagobah, I think.
Dagobah, right. So the producers wanted to find a real location. They look at locations in Africa and Scandinavia, and ultimately decided just to find a place to shoot in London and just build a set. So they're like, we just bring a bunch of snakes and a lizard, and we'll call it a day. London it is.
I think for a location for him to like have gone somewhere to be trained, that kind of swamp water place didn't work for me. I think that the story could have been a better location. I don't know what, but like I'm going to go to like the Louisiana swamps to train to be a Jedi. Like,
surprised they didn't put an alligator in there, but being in London, I'm sure they couldn't get one transported. I did think Yoda was like super ballsy and like didn't give a shit when he was just like openly talking shit about Luke in front of Luke to like Obi-Wan. He's just like, just out of nowhere, Luke's like, I can do this. I got you. And then he just turns his head. He's like, yeah, this guy sucks. Like, you're just not patient. And it's like, what the fuck? Where do you get off? Like, just, I mean, I gotta commend him for his ability to just talk shit in front of Luke and be like,
I'm not scared.
He's not the one.
Will be.
Yeah, right. That line was awesome. Like,
your father, he was a Jedi warrior. How do you know my dad? My father. You don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking to Obi-Wan, and that's when it hits him. He's like, shit, this is Yoda.
He knows what's up. Yeah, but I thought that was I gotta give kudos when kudos are due to Yoda. Up until that point, he wasn't really like impressing me, but the fact that he just like blatantly was just doubting Luke right in front of him to his face is like,
much anger in him, like his father.
Was I any different when you told me?
He's not ready.
Yoda.
Very, very ballsy move there, Yoda. Some more stuff that I kind of saw behind the scenes. Frank Oz was originally like doing the voices of it, and then in post they're like, we're gonna get somebody else to do the voice for Yoda. We didn't really like what we were doing, and they tried for all of like production to do this again, and then they finally called back Frank Oz and was like, actually, can you come back in? We're gonna have you do the voice.
Imagine that. You suck. We don't want you.
Yeah.
Psych.
Right, but his voice was supposed to be just a placeholder.
Yeah, gotcha. Exactly. And he's been, he's not new to this area of work. Originally, Lucas wanted Jim Henson to come on board and do the puppetry, obviously from the Muppets, but he was just busy doing everything, and he recommended Frank Oz because he works with him on the Muppets. So Frank does do the voice of, I think the characters I got that were the most notable were Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Animal, Sam the Eagle, and then he did some of the, I think Sesame Street. I think he did like Cookie Monster and stuff like that. As well.
I thought he did. Was it Cookie Monster? I thought he did Grover, but I could be wrong. It could be Cookie Monster.
He might do both.
Trapped by Darth Vader, our weapons useless, and now we're being tortured by gargling Gershwin. Oh, what could possibly get us out of this?
What else? A song and dance number.
You are my lucky star. I saw you from afar. You opened heaven's portals here on earth for us poor mortals. You are my lucky star.
Okay, that's the song part. Now comes the dance. Take it, Chewie and R2.
certainly don't dance.
Oh, but this is our big ending.
Oh, all right.
Lucky I once saw a Fred Astaire film.
Which I saw Hamill like talking about how like just trying and like how tough it was to film this stuff, because for the first like couple months the call sheet was just Mark Hamill, and he was just doing all these stuff by himself, because like half this movie is him training with a puppet and that's it. So it's like, I mean, the fact that he got this kind of acting performance out of working with nobody else in front of him is really tremendous.
Well, the only scene that the top cast is all together in is at the beginning when he's in the hospital. Other than that, the top players are never in the same scene together.
Yeah,
which I don't know. I don't know if it was it a scheduling thing or something. But Mark was like mostly
the
in
accident.
scenes other than, well, he'd been in the
That's true.
accident before the movie. But
That's by the way, that's why they have the Wamba scene in there. By the way, that's why he was attacked by a Wamba. The facial scars were from his accident.
yeah.
So they did that.
So Carrie Fisher in her interviews and in her book says that they were doing that because Mark had been in a bad accident and broke his nose and was all scarred up. And then George Lucas in interviews said, no, it was just a coincidence that scene was there and it worked out to our benefit. So there's two stories. Like either we wrote that in intentionally to explain why his face was kind of screwed up, and some are like, nope, it was just a coincidence. I got a feeling that his face was marred up because he had a bunch of surgery done to fix his nose and his cheeks or whatever, but who knows.
But from this chapter of Luke's training, I think the one scene that I chose is that the one where Yoda's proving that he's actually not completely useless, when he's trying to get Luke to understand the power of the Force by lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. You know, that's when we get the do or do not, there is no try, you know, and he's like, I don't believe it. It's like, that is why you fail. You know, he's just, you know, judge me by my size, do you? As Kevin's tagline says. That's that's the scene.
Yeah, that's funny.
But is there any other scenes that you all think
there's
are encompassing?
There's a scene, but it's not as impactful. It's more of a funny scene that I caught, and it just made me laugh. But it's basically, so this asteroid shower happens the whole movie, right? Like every time they put a ship on the shot, pew 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 pew, destroying, like, you know, playing Galaga or whatever. I'm gonna share this part.
My hands are dirty.
My hands are dirty too. What are you afraid of?
Oh, dirty talk.
Dirty talk. Very.
By the way, she looked so good in this movie, and I didn't realize it till now.
She looks even better in the third one when she's in her little slave outfit.
Oh, that's a little weird, but
that's a lie. All right, pay attention. We're gonna cut to the ship, and an asteroid is gonna hit part of the ship, and he's gonna blow it up. Immediately, right after, there's 3 admirals that pop up to tell Vader what's up. Watch. They're like, oh yeah, oh
that guy's faded out.
There's a glitch in the Matrix.
Vader's just like,
He probably did it.
They didn't even acknowledge him. You're right.
He's like, you let my ship get hit? Nah, that guy was the chief defense officer. But yeah, so any other scenes that stick out for you during the Yoda training area, or is that kind of the one scene that kind of encompasses it for you guys?
I like the end of it when he's telling him he has to leave, and Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, you gotta stay, and Luke is not listening to either one of them. No, I gotta go. Luke, don't go, when they're literally both telling him in their own way.
And he's saying, well, I should just sacrifice them, and they're kind of like, for the Force or whatever, or for the better of the good, or they're kind of saying, yeah, let them die. It's like, for the, you know, we're here for the Jedi Force. Yay. Team Jedi, let them go.
Yeah, and it does end with that very ambiguous line of, you know, with Obi-Wan being like, you know, he's our last hope, and then Yoda saying, there is another. Like, there is? Who's out there?
Right there, everyone in the theater is like,
"What the fuck is he talking about?"
Who is it? Who is it? Darth Vader?
So that one he's referring to Leia, because he knows that they are brother and sister. Which is we'll get
the
to
light
that.
bulb just went off. And
so the next like little chapter is really the Han and Leia escape. That's where Han, Leia, Chewie, they're fleeing the Empire on the Millennium Falcon. They go through the asteroids. They land on the asteroid. They land in the asteroid, which ends up being a sandworm thing's mouth or whatever. But space bugs, gotta hate those space bugs.
It's an exogorth to be technical.
Oh, even better.
Look like a thing from Beetlejuice.
Yeah, that was exactly. This is where the Han and Leia romance is definitely picking up. You're starting to get that, the sense that there's some kind of friction going on there. And of course, 3PO is there to blow up the spot. They got that nice little conversation. It's like, you're a scoundrel. It's like, you go for scoundrels. Like, I go for good guys. I'm a good guy. Sneaks a little smooch in there. Carrie Fisher's just kissing everybody on set this movie. But 3PO kind of bops in. And of course, it's like, well, I found that this was broken. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, God damn it, dude, get out of here.
He is kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, he sucks. I hate
one
3PO.
of my favorite lines of the movie is, go ahead and go plug in the professor back there. Get him out of here.
I love the whole just like, does this guy shut up? And
he's there for a sole reason to translate what we can't understand. He's like, he just explains what's happening. He gets context clues. That's all he does. That's his role in the movie. It's like, look at this asteroid's coming that we hasn't stopped in 5 years. Or R2D2 means you can't fix the hyperspeed. Like he's context clues.
You get a lot.
Millennium Falcon is a real piece of junk in this movie. The thing is always broken.
Is held together by duct tape.
It is.
But yeah, I mean the biggest thing of this is the whole failed light speed. Like they just can't get to light speed to get out of this situation. So we obviously see Vader choking everybody out during this sequence, but I didn't really have too much in this chapter because it was really just them evading. There was a lot of action in this, but not a lot of like substance. But my big scene that I really liked was the smarts of landing this on the Star Destroyer and hiding from the radar is when they kind of cloak it. They're like, they're coming in attack formation. Oh, they're gonna take us on. And all of a sudden they're like, they popped off our radar. They went into light speed. And then Han knows he's like, they're gonna search for us. And then right before they hit light speed, they're going to dump their garbage and we're just going to float away.
And when they think they're another admiral's like, I'll go tell Vader.
Yeah, it's just, then you got the guy that's like 3 admirals below him. He's like, all right, it's my time to shine in about 10 minutes because these guys are all goners. But it's just such a smart Han Solo thing. We've pointed this out, or Leia pointed it out when they went into the asteroid thing, where he's just like, this guy actually knows what he's doing. That's where we get one of the better lines where, again, 3PO being annoying, like, well, the odds of us are 1 in 3,700, blah, blah. It's like, never tell me the odds.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
It's like, thanks 3PO. But that's my scene, just being able to have the smarts and the whereabouts of landing on the destroyer, knowing they're going to dump. He knows the protocols. He knows they're going to dump before they go to light speed.
He isn't that smart because it didn't work. Because was it Boba Fett that was like right on him when he?
Yeah, that was going to be my part of it. That's what I was going to say.
They dumped their trash, and he's like, "We're out of here." And then Boba Fett's like, "I got you. I know."
Yep. And that's that little exit that I really love. Is like they think they're scot free, and it's like, nope. You're actually being tailed by the bounty hunter. The next little chapter that I have is the whole Cloud City betrayal. This is where they kind of go to seek refuge with Lando. Another introduction of a new character that they do such a good job at introducing these characters that we don't know, but immediately you feel like you do know them. So there's the weird interaction right there. You're like, how well does Han Solo know Lando? Because they have this whole rib of, you dare show your face again.
he like built up this. He's my friend, but he's really not. Like
You know,
really
but yeah,
don't.
that you could tell their hand don't like him, but likes him because they're like the same. So when I think,
but he's
Han
playing
sees
him at
as-
first, like, "How
yeah.
dare you come here?" And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, buddy!" Hey.
Like it
And then
seems like
then you learn that the Millennium Falcon was his.
That's probably what they were arguing about. Like he lost.
That was the joke. He was
the
not
Falcon,
joke,
right.
but the ribbing. He was like, "Oh, how dare you come here?"
Right.
Which is fun
And like
because
I
you get
said-
to see that in the Han Solo origin movie when they do that prequel.
And then, intentional or not, good writing. Later, when Lando's flying the Falcon and he knows how to do everything, you're like, it used to be his. He knows how to fly this
his
thing.
car. Yeah.
He knows
I just
all
love
the
it too
quirks.
because
and-
you could tell Han understands Lando because the way Lando's all set up, all the questions he's asking him, like, oh, how do you stay out of this trouble? How do you stay out of this? It's stuff that if it was Han would have done the same thing. If Han could have taken over a whole area like that, he would have done it.
Oh, you're
So he
sounding like a
understands Lando.
businessman now.
Yeah.
But there is a lot that goes on in this little chapter. But I think my favorite thing that happens in this chapter is 3PO getting absolutely destroyed, because that kind of gave us a little time out from him for a second. But I did love that
But
whole.
he caused it himself. He went snooping in there. Oh, it sounds like an R2D2. Well, it's like, go ahead, stick
what
your nose
what
where it
could I
doesn't
find
belong.
in here? And
he's,
I like when
getting
like the
dragged in,
other.
and just as Chewbacca's coming around the corner, the door goes down, and Chewbacca looks around the corner. He's like, I don't see him. Whatever. He's on his own. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. You're on your own. I like when he saw the other 3PO and they're like, I forget what their encounter was, but he just kind of brushed him off, and he's like, damn, I thought we were all supposed to be nice. But I do like that we find out exactly what happens to 3PO without seeing it, because later on when Chewie ends up going searching around and snooping around as well and finds 3PO's pieces all in the bottom, and he puts them in a little backpack and whatever. But you see like 3PO's recording where he's like, oh, stormtroopers. Ah, and you're like, okay, there was a stormtrooper in there that was kind of piecing them out. There's a lot, like I said, that goes on in this whole thing, but we get the ultimate betrayal of Lando being like, hey, why don't you come get some drinks with me? Opens the door and Vader's there.
All of
like,
you guys can all come. Like,
yep, yeah. Please all come.
We would be honored if you would join us.
But we learn it, and it felt like we come to find out it's definitely a forced betrayal. He didn't just call up Vader and was like, yo, they're here. Vader got there before them, and he's like, I couldn't help you, man. They were already here before you, and they're kind of holding us hostage. Like the power is in him. I didn't sell you out, but you kind of sold yourself out by coming here, unfortunately. We get the whole Han being put into carbonite, and he's being returned to Jabba the Hutt via the bounty hunter. They test it all out to make sure he's still alive. And this is where we get like that.
Well, they tested it on him because they wanted to make sure that when they did it to Luke, he was going to survive. It technically was the plan, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is where we get the I love you scene, which is probably one of the more iconics. I didn't choose that as the scene, but
I know
that's where we get the I love you. I know. They filmed this supposedly like a bunch with I love you and I love you too, and it just didn't feel right. So then the director pulled him aside and was like, just do whatever. Roll. We're rolling. And they did it, and he just said, I know. And there's like, oh, cut. That's fine.
So
that works
the
perfect.
theory is that I think the original line in the script was, remember that because I'll be back. But Mark and Carrie had signed 3 movie deals, and Harrison Ford hadn't. And he didn't know if he was coming back for another one. So he was actually originally asked George Lucas to kill that character off. And so the original line was, remember that because I'll be back. And he's like, I don't want it. I might not be back. So that's why he ad-libbed and said, I know. Because then now it left it in a state where like that character could come back or he could die. You don't know.
Yeah.
So that the theory is he said that because he didn't want to be committed to coming back.
Yeah. I remember seeing a lot of that stuff where like Harrison Ford was really adamant, like kill off Han Solo. Like he doesn't have a story going. Like he's got nothing in his life. He's got
it would add a lot of a different type of context. So it would add an emotion. Seeing Leia get angry, seeing the hurt in Chewie, like it would have added to it. It wouldn't have. It
would have felt like there was more stakes because like we don't lose mains.
And when he's in the carbonite, when they show him and he's like, it's not the shirt or the clothes he was wearing when they froze him. They said that prop must have been built earlier on because it's the shirt. It's the shirt from the first movie.
They probably got ahead. They were trying to get ahead of schedule and then didn't pick up on that one.
I thought they were testing the chamber, not for Skywalker, but for Walt Disney.
Trying to freeze him in carbonite. But like the scene that I chose for this is obviously the Lando offering them the drinks and the reveal that Vader is there and the betrayal scene. That's kind of what I chose as the scene that defines the Cloud City betrayal. Is there another scene that you think stands out as well, or that's?
Well, I did kind of like those little guys that were working the incinerator room down there when they found CP3.
Space Gringos.
Those little guys were pretty cool.
Little goblins.
But
no, yeah. What else do you?
I didn't notice it till like I noticed a lot of stuff the second time I watched it right before we started this. Boba Fett was gonna kill Chewie, and Vader stopped him. When Han got dropped and Chewie started flipping out, literally Boba Fett put his gun up and Vader knocked his gun down. Like shut the fuck, like get out of here. Like literally, and I was like, oh shit. Vader really was like, Vader's the reason we didn't lose Chewie. He didn't want that. Maybe he didn't want to destroy the machine or something. I don't know. But literally, Boba Fett went up to shoot him, and Vader just literally smacked his hand down.
He's like, if anybody is going to kill anybody, it'll be me.
Yeah, he literally
power move.
And Boba Fett left it down. The Emperor wanted Luke alive, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. So I think maybe it was because of the machine, but it was just crazy to see Chewie flipping out. Everyone's shooting at him, and Boba Fett, who would not have missed. And Vader just said, no. No.
Right.
During this movie, I realized how, like, I never noticed it before, but Chewbacca, the sound he makes over and over again can start to really grate on you after a while.
Oh, I love it. I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's good, but it's like just too much sometimes. It just sounds like he's whining.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's iconic. I love it. But it's like, dude, you constantly sound like you're screeching all the time. You're like,
so dramatic.
Whiny bitch.
I want more of it. I would love a whole Chewie movie. That's all you hear is that in subtitles.
Give him a little varied vocal tones to like,
yeah.
You're happy? Like, what's your happy?
Give him a vowel. Give him a vowel. Just one vowel.
Where? Found him in a junk pile.
It's, I did see how they recorded it. The sounds in this movie, they were trying, well, not this movie, but the previous one, they were trying to figure out what these sounds and voices were going to be. Is that the voices recorded, well, not voices, but the sounds recorded for Chewie were different animal noises. So like tigers, lions, bears, dogs, and he kind of mashed them together to fit whatever emotion he wanted to kind of convey during that scene, which is crazy and weird.
I feel like he had one emotion.
I know, just about
screaming.
To say, yes, what emotion? Like, so you're saying animals have no emotion?
No, I also said that he was the most dramatic. Oh, I guess I said it before. So I think Chewie is one of the most dramatic characters there because, like, you feel through him. Yeah, because it's like a big baby crying. You know,
when he found 3PO's head.
He's just so.
He sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The next chapter I have is just Luke versus Vader. This is where Luke confronts Darth Vader in the lightsaber duel. And then we have that shocking revelation of the past. But this kind of starts with Luke kind of coming in just as Leia and everyone's kind of getting taken out. And she's screaming to him like, it's a trap. It's a trap. Watch out. But Luke and Vader kind of battle it out. And he has learned a lot. You know, Luke kind of hits him a little bit with the old pocket sand trick when he pulls the pipe down and blasts the steam into Vader's face, which somehow affects him, even though he has a mask on still. And he just kind of falls off the platform. I thought that was a little like, you build this guy up to be so strong, and he's just like, swing, 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 pocket sand. And he's just like,
I
He
did
just falls off.
like the fact that you hear it in his voice though. Like they didn't just let him fall. They hear
Yeah.
him go,
Whoa. Luke was kind of holding his own with Darth Vader, but then he starts to get beat by like flying boxes. This Vader just starts throwing shit at him. I was like, you could go toe to toe in a lightsaber duel with Darth Vader, but then like this one box is flying at you, and you're like, like it's just. Actually, I got my lightsaber right here. Yeah, I thought that was a little like weird that he got beat by boxes or computer monitors or whatever
they
those
had
were.
to show that his training was not done, and like chapter 7 was box dodging. So it just
good move, huh?
Yeah.
So obviously we get to the big scene, right? Where this is what I obviously refer to as the scene where Luke gets his hand cut off and he's told that Vader's his father. And it's funny because we talked earlier about the Mandela effect of people thinking they hear one thing and everyone thinks the whole line is Luke, I am your father, when it's really not. It just says I am your father or something like that. So what was really cool about this whole sequence is nobody knew that this was coming. Even production, nobody knew. Mark Hamill didn't even know until before they were going to film the scene. It wasn't in the scripts.
Wow.
And what Darth Vader said on set, was that he killed Obi-Wan. That was the line that was given to him. But at that point, Mark Hamill knew to react differently. But that's kind of what everybody went. That's how they kept it so under wraps that they just called it as I killed Obi-Wan. And he's like, no. And they dubbed in the stuff later. And then when James Earl Jones got the I am your father in the script, he's like, no way. This is not this can't be. And that was how it's kind of kept under wraps. So two funny things. So one, they put out books, novelizations of the stories, and the book came out in April. So it came out before this movie with that revelation in there, which is crazy to think because in this day and age, if the book came out beforehand, it'd be all over Twitter, everywhere. It would have leaked out. So if you read the book before you saw this movie a month later, you would have already known this big, huge twist, which is just crazy to me that it was out there, but it also was hidden in the script and stuff like that. I alluded to this earlier. My big Empire Strikes Back story that is too ridiculous to make up. I went and saw this movie at a local theater down here with Jimmy and my friend Thomas. Sil, Thomas. We were watching this movie, and at this scene, maybe 10 minutes prior, he got up. I saw he got a phone call. He got up and he left. And he came back in. I was like, oh, that's weird. That's interesting. And he was kind of a little bit different after. Movie ends, and he came back right during this I am your father. Right at that time. So we get out of the theater, and he tells me he got a call that he is a father now. That he is that one of the girls he was with was pregnant, and he was now going to be a father. It's like, you couldn't have timed this better. That's why I said I was glad this did not happen to me, but I was present. But he will now forever remember that he's like, I got the call. I'm just your world explodes. You're like, I haven't been in that situation. You two have been you all three have been in that situation where it's okay. What are the next steps? Well, the next step for him was to go back into the movie theater and immediately hear the line that I am your father. It's like, you couldn't write that better.
And that's why the son's named Luke. No.
Yeah, exactly. But that was my fun little Empire story.
That's crazy.
You can't make that up better. No, it was just insane. But that's the scene, obviously. The whole Luke getting his hand cut off. Blah, blah, blah. Are there any other scenes that even come close to that? I don't think we have to discuss, but I think that's kind of narrows that down. And then we just kind of tie it up. The last chapter is really just the escape and rescue. Luke drops down into this slide, somehow that pops out of the wall. He lands on this antenna. He gets scooped up by the Millennium Falcon, and they are off. But this just ends on such a downer, right? This is a big lose movie. Luke got his hand cut off. Han's frozen in carbonite. They're with, they're spread about. There was like no finale to this movie. Obviously it has a finale, but like there's no, the story doesn't conclude really because they know they're going into the third one. So it is a really good sort of like just bummer of a movie, which is like why I think it resonates so much, where it's like you can try and you can be the best hero, but at sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. So let's get into unless there's any more like little backstage knowledge stuff that people had on this movie. The one thing I did know that was in this whole movie they did 64 sets for this whole movie, which is more than double, I think, the previous Star Wars New Hope.
Wow.
So I'm curious, now that we've kind of gone through this movie a little bit, we talked about how we think about it. We've talked about the scenes. Sil, what did the people say about this movie? I'm very curious if there's like a bad review. Obviously it's well-renowned. Like the good is out there, but like, there's got to be some curmudgeon out there that's like, this is the worst piece of crap ever.
Star Trek fans aren't Star Wars fans. So some Star Trek fan must have been like, it sucks.
The puppetry is ridiculous.
The people loved it, man. People love this movie, and
yeah,
I can see why. I liked it. It has a 95% tomato meter on it, so I mean that's amazing. And the audience score is even higher. You got 97%.
Is this still like the highest, right? Was it Ghostbusters that was 98?
There's some stuff that's like hundreds, like Toy Story.
No, I'm saying, but we've done what we've done.
Oh, what we've done has got to be the highest. Yeah,
he was up there too. He was like 94, 93.
Yeah, sometimes I think Ghostbusters is still the highest one we've done.
Yeah.
This was better than Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah.
No, this movie was really good. I loved it. It was great. No bad reviews. The only thing I got is like, well, it had its moments. The Empire Strikes Back can feel slower than a malfunctioning hyperdrive. Yoda's cryptic speaking style and Han Solo's questionable fashion choices and some comedic relief. But the pacing and foggy mysticism may leave some fans longing for a snappier adventure. Dude, that's...
If you're nitpicking Han Solo's outfits, then you really don't have much.
Yeah, that's as bad as it got, to be honest. But
all right, so let's jump into our segments a little bit. So Diaz, we got a lot of things to stack this thing up with. So what did you bring for us this week to like question us? Because this thing, you could go a million different directions.
I'm gonna go 2, maybe 3. First stack up. I don't want to get into certain betrayals, but there's a lot you could think of. Fredo betraying Michael in The Godfather 2. Saruman betraying Gandalf and the Lord of the Ring crew and joining Sauron. You can go Cypher from the Matrix, gonna try to kill everybody. But those are just a couple betrayals. What's the worst betrayal to compare to this? The fact that Lando sold out his boys, sold out everybody. Right when everything seemed like it was cool, like he was all happy. Let's go get some drinks. No, what he's doing is maybe giving you a side of death. Like,
yeah, you're gonna get choked out in a second.
Exactly. Like, what's a bigger betrayal or an equal betrayal to that in any movie that you've seen?
Oh man.
Well, Lando betrayed them, but at the end of the day, of course, at the end of this movie, you're not sure what Han's outcome is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody definitely died. Like Godfather 2, somebody dies.
Well, true.
This betrayal, I think, was just
Michael gets killed in that betrayal. Right?
Like he prefaced it like, "I am not lying to you. You're safe," and then it's like 3 shots later, psych. They come here first. They got here first.
Okay, so any other betrayals similar to that you can compare it to? Like, what do you? Any betrayals in any movies?
The one that's popping in my head is like the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 betrayal was pretty devastating. I feel like the Ego Living Planet, and then Star-Lord finding out that he was just one other seed out there, and then they killed their mom. Like, bro,
yeah, he killed his mom. I didn't even think about that betrayal. He killed his mother.
That's like, dude, that betrayal sucked. Yeah, he planted way more seeds than sons. Just planted.
That's a mother betrayal. Mother's death betrayal. That's up there,
bro. But from your dad, like, bro.
Yeah.
That betrayal, it's like Scar in The Lion King, and then that.
I forgot. How did I not? I work at Disney. How did I not put Scar?
I think Diaz, you kind of mentioned the one that I was going to pick, and that's Cypher in the Matrix, where it's like he's going to kill everybody. He completely flipped. He went from
and no memory of it. Remember, he asked for no memory of whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to remember it. I know that this world is fake. I know this steak is fake, but I don't care. I want to wake up and I want to be rich, and I don't want to remember about any of this.
And
so I think that's
scene wise, that scene, the way he plays out, it's slow, and he's got Trinity on the phone, and he's talking to her. He's talking to her on the phone. She's in the Matrix talking to him, and he's like standing over her body that's plugged into the Matrix. And then he goes over to Morpheus, and then he's like, "Say goodbye to so and so," and he unplugs the back of the head.
And then you just see him.
So
it's like this is the one.
Like from a movie scene wise, that's a really good scene.
And Neo, he's like, if he was the one, then I wouldn't be able to do the. And obviously, it doesn't turn out well for Cypher. So but that's my betrayal.
What's your betrayal, Kev? Comparable to this.
Well, like I said, I think the fact that in The Godfather 2, Michael gets killed, right? So at least it's not like like Lando,
no harm, no foul,
kind of redeemed himself a little bit. We don't think Han dies, because you only have the story up till the end of that. So I think, I mean, either Cypher or the Michael's betrayal in Godfather 2 is both worse than what Lando did, I think.
I was thinking like Saruman from Lord of the Rings, because you got Gandalf trying to save the world, going to see his best friend, his boy, like, oh, I got someone that can help us, man. He showed me everything I am. It's because of this guy. Let's go. I'm gonna run to him. Are you telling? And he's breaking it down to him. He's like, what are we gonna do? And his boy's just looking at him, well, like, they say that this, and this. And then he shuts the door on him, like, none of us can stop him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna stop him. I'm gonna join him. You should join us too. You don't want to join us? Well, you'll die like the rest of them. That's fucked up. Fucked up. Another one I would say, we all know the crazy thing about this movie was the Vader becoming his father. That sort of twist, crazy ending that nobody saw coming. What other twist endings had you like, holy shit, no way. Give me some scenes like that. Like I said, none of us saw the Avengers dying at the end.
Yeah, Infinity. Yeah.
That dusting scene had everyone like, oh shit.
Yeah, we
but
just didn't know who.
Yeah,
and I think you mentioned it as well. But the Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense.
I was like, he's been dead. What?
Yeah, that's the big one for me. I have a couple like big plot twists. Was Sixth Sense was on top of the list. Psycho, Norman Bates, when he's been dressing up like the mother the whole time, and then at the end, Norman, that whole thing. Fight Club, when it's all revealed that Brad Pitt's just this. Imagine, it's in his head. It's a second persona. He's not real. And then Seven, another Brad Pitt. The whole twist that he was trapping him. What's in the box? He gets him to like kill him to be that seventh sin. But I don't think. I mean, Sixth Sense is probably the best one, right? That was
pretty good.
That was huge. I don't know if it beats I'm Your Father, but like.
I think the Sixth Sense. I started like, I think I figured this out just as they revealed it. I was like, oh,
you couldn't get to it. I don't have a really good one. I don't know if you guys watched the Argyle movie.
I haven't seen that one
yet. Remind me. I think I did.
Argyle with what's Superman guy? What's
Henry Cavill or Christopher Reeves?
Yeah, with Henry Cavill. And it's like a detective movie, whatever. And it's this girl that writes his stories about Argyle and it's a detective and whatever. That
2024
Samuel Jackson.
Oh, that just came out recently, right?
Yeah, it just came out. I watched it like in November or something. That movie's a trip too, because like as you go, like it's a writer, and then the movie goes back and forth between like the story in the book and the writer's story. but you don't know they're separate until like later on. And at the end, the writer, which is a girl, was Henry Cavill. It's like, what? So it's a trip of a movie. John Cena's there. Yeah, I remember. So
yeah, this is Matthew Vaughn. He did the Kingsman movies.
yes, yeah, very Kingsman-y, just that style.
Bryan Cranston.
John Cena. It wasn't my favorite movie. I'll say that. It was a little trippy. I don't know what I was thinking it was going to be about, but I love detective movies, and
you like the twist.
The twist was like, yeah, it hits you later. You're like, oh, it's the same person. You have this redhead girl, nerdy looking like, and you have Henry Cavill with fucking Johnny Bravo hairstyle being a detective, and they're the same. Yeah. So,
see, if I had to pick one, Fight Club was a thought of mine. You find out that there's more to him in the end, but there was a couple movies that did that. Fight Club did that. Secret Window did that he was like the same guy. Psycho did that. The one that had me, like I said, The Sixth Sense. I think The Sixth Sense might beat the I Am Your Father line. But don't forget Saw. Jigsaw, bro.
Forgot about Saw, yeah.
When Jigsaw gets up and that music starts playing, and he gets up and takes off the fucking latex mask, and he was dead in the room the whole time.
Yep.
Dude, that Saw twist was incredible.
That one no one saw coming.
Nobody saw that coming. At least in like the
good while since I've watched any of the Saws.
The Sixth Sense, gave you some hints. If you really look back, oh shit, that none of that in Saw made you think that guy was fucking alive.
Did you have any other stack it ups, or we move on to that next one?
I think we can move on to the next one. Those are the two that just was sticking to me the most.
Yeah. This is a new little segment I wanted to try out, and I want to put the ball in Kevin's court. We're going to try a little thing this is kind of a game of sorts, but 2 truths and a lie. So Kevin's going to give us 3 facts, and we have to each pick what we think is the lie between the 3 about Empire Strikes Back.
He thinks there's money involved. He's like, I'm going to win the jackpot here.
Yeah. So I'm real interested to see what you cooked up on this one.
Okay.
Kev, throw one more in so that we don't, if we both guess, I know, we won't know to the end. You'll let us know out of the 3. There's only 3 of us. So,
Number 1. So shortly after the release, Darth Vader's name was changed to Lord Fenner in Italy because the word Vader in Italian sounds like toilet. Number 1. Number 2, the space slug, also known as the Exogorth, which is what the Millennium Falcon hides in, thinking it's just an asteroid crater. That space slug was borrowed from a movie released earlier the same year by New World Pictures titled Humanoids from the Deep. Number 3, most of the rebel ground troops in the Hoth battle scenes were extras from Norway. They filmed in Norway. A lot of them were actually part of the ski rescue team, but they didn't speak English. So the assistant director, Peter McDonald, had to run around miming what he wanted them to do and had to point towards the enemy going to what to do. And that's how he directed the extras. So 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, man.
Those are ridiculous. These were well crafted. I'm
Not
not
bad.
using Google.
I could buy any of those.
Yeah, my hand's up here. I'm not looking.
Yeah. How do you actually go to the bathroom in Italy? Can you go to the Veda? Babada-boobie bader.
Bubbity boopity. I'll go 1. I'll go 1 with the Italian one. I think that one's the fiction. What do you guys think?
Lord Toilet. Lord Toilet is rough.
Saying 1.
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm calling 1 out. I think 1 is the
they did
the
film
lie.
in Norway, so in Hoth. And it's easily why not have rescue extras? Yeah, they're too far away for them to be too picky on acting. The second one was the worm.
So the space slug animal or monster was borrowed from a movie that was made earlier the same year. It was made by New World Pictures.
You mean like
they borrowed the actual monster and
prop.
reused it as a special effects in this movie, and it was a movie called Humanoids from the Deep.
I'm gonna go for 2. Maybe Lucas was too cocky to be like, I want my own props. Yeah. I'll make everything.
You know what's crazy? I'm not picking the last one because you guys all picked the other two, but I am picking the last one because it's too fucking obvious. It's too obvious that they would use extras, and I feel like we would have known that. Somehow they would have leaked that all the people that you see in that scene were actually natives of the country. I feel like that would have slipped down somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And there's so many people accredited for this movie. If you look through the cast list, you know, like when we had to,
not at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. But there's so many people that I never fucking even heard of that could have been soldiers or whatever in that army. So I'm gonna go 3. I don't think
you're saying that you're saying the director didn't have to run around in mime. You're saying
no.
All right.
Not
what do we
miming.
got? So we all got different answers. Who's right? Who's wrong?
Number 2 is made up. The monster wasn't borrowed from another movie.
Oh, I thought that one was for sure.
Nice.
What sold me is that you knew the name. So I was like, earlier when you mentioned that actual name, I was like, oh, well, he probably picked up the name because he researched it. Okay.
Hey, you did good.
I like
was a
that.
good one.
George
All right,
Lucas
so
down.
let's jump out of this and just real quick. I want to do a little quote corner. We don't need a huge thing about these, but what's like your favorite quote from this movie? Because it's got a lot of like memorable one-liners and quotes and stuff like that. And mine is just when Han says, "Never tell me the odds." That's just kind of I really like that one. You could pick a lot of Yoda stuff. You could pick "I'm your father," whatever, but "Never tell me the odds" just for me was really, really fun in that scene. But what's everybody else's like favorite quote from this movie?
I love you. I know.
Yeah, that's to the point. I like that one.
Mine, I found today. Like I said, I found so much watching it the second time I saw it. The real quick 3-line interaction between Leia and Han, when he's telling her, "Relax, don't get excited," and she goes, "Hardly. You holding on to me isn't quite enough to get me excited." He said, "Sorry, I don't have time for anything else." Beautiful line. That's so because she responded perfectly, like, "Stop it. You holding me is not going to get me excited." And he said,
Fired back.
"Sorry, I don't have time to do anything else." Perfect. It just shows his cockiness and their chemistry right there. When I heard that, I stopped what I was doing. I was like, "Did he just nice, Han, nice line."
Yeah.
I don't think this is a highly quotable movie. I mean, some of the movies we talk about, there's so many great one-lines. I don't think there's really not.
Yeah, those like quotes for me. Those are things I like those lines. It wasn't a quote.
Yeah, this.
I agree with
it's
Kevin.
not a quotable movie.
Right. I'm your father. I mean, whatever.
How am I going to drop that?
Right. Like, yeah, you don't make a move.
Kevin, what's the one that you'd have to choose for yours?
I guess I would go with the
judge me by my size, do you? Let's get into our stop it. This is our segment where we go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. We each pick one scene that's good, one that's bad, and one that's ugly that didn't really age quite well. And we'll just kind of fire through these real quick. My good one, and like I said, these don't have to be scenes; they can be kind of things. But my good is just the opening and the addition of Hoth, and that shows us that this is a whole new movie and we're seeing all new stuff. They're not just recycling the first movie and milking it. We're getting these new planets and these new creatures and we're buying in on it.
I don't pick up any life readings.
There isn't enough life on this ice cube to fill a space cruiser. Sensors are placed. I'm going back.
Right, I'll see you shortly.
So Kevin, what's the one good that you took for this?
The good scene, which I told you earlier, I tipped my hand. When he meets Yoda and he's playing like this goofy fool, but he's really the Jedi Master. And Luke's the one being played. Yeah. I love that scene.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile.
He's in there. He's digging
really
through
does.
Because he's playing the fool, right? He's in there. He's throwing all this shit out, and he comes out with the flashlight, like, "Ooh, I got a flashlight." He just
looking. Found someone you have, I would say.
Right.
I know Nick hates that scene. I think it's perfect because I know what's going on. You know, he's the guy. He's the guy.
My good is Han and Vader. The character development on those two characters. You knew a lot about Luke. You knew a lot about Leia. You knew a lot about, like the relationship between Han and Chewie. But the growth of Han's character I feel like I didn't know that he wasn't like written into the third one, like you said, Kev, that he wasn't contracted for a third movie. I feel like he put it all in this movie. He gave you everything that he was in hand, and showing how Vader was relentless to get Luke. Because the first one, it wasn't all about getting Luke. The end of this whole movie was he had like a fucking hard on to get his son. He wanted his son back. Dude, I'm getting this motherfucker.
Become a powerful ally.
Yes, you would be a great asset. Can it be done?
He will join us or die, Master.
We got to catch up. We got to go to a ball game. We got to grab some beers.
Vader, we can die if we go after them. I don't care if we die.
Take your son to work day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how you choke people out.
That
bonding over death.
Just seeing the more emotion out of Vader, showing how the dark side gets emotional and how that anger, how that pain, and then seeing Han just be smooth, just showing his full character. That's the good for me. Those two characters, and I didn't realize that until watching it again.
Yeah. Sil, what did you nail something down for the good?
Yeah, I think what I enjoyed the most was every shot of the Empire. Every shot they're inside the ship, and seeing how Vader just like it's just this. Yeah, it's just this monster of a person, like a big boss, big dude, like.
Lord Vader.
Yes, Admiral. What is it?
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him.
Move the ship out of the asteroid field so that we can send a clear transmission.
Yes, Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. He carry like a presence, right? Like he walks in, he's always like pissed off and walking in and walking out. He's got to give orders. He's like, these fucking incompetent losers that I get to work with every day. Like,
how'd you get this job?
Yeah, like
I gotta wear this stupid helmet all day.
I gotta talk to HR today again because I keep yelling at people. Like, where's my recruiting agent? I hate that guy. Like, he's like, this is so much.
Yeah, who's the recruiter for the stormtroopers? I'm gonna go choke that guy out.
Yeah, that's fun.
So I'll jumpstart into the bad because it piggybacks right off of Kevin, because the bad I had was Yoda's introduction. It was just the nuisance, that little gremlin.
Put that down. Now hey, it's my dinner.
Somebody put water on him and left him out past midnight. That guy was just.
I think originally they were going to try to put a monkey in a costume to be Yoda. I think, and it just didn't work out. And
I can't see how that would have worked out. But yeah, that was my bad. Was the introduction? I get like that it serves a better purpose of like the testing of the patients and whatever. But I think it's
perfect that like for opposite ends on that. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I couldn't buy, especially. I can't put myself in the spot. Well, I mean, I did see this before I saw 1 through 3, but after seeing like episodes 1 and 3, where like, Yoda's.
Oh, that's a good question. So do you think you saw these in order originally, or do you?
Yeah, I saw these before I saw
release order, but you saw them in release order, not chronological, not storyline chronological.
Correct. I saw the original trilogy before I saw 1 through 3. But now going back and like knowing like Yoda's just this badass doing flips and like killing with the saber, and then you go back and you watch this movie and you're like, this just doesn't feel like the same character at all. Like, is his brain just turned to mush because he's just isolated by himself now, or what's up with this? But then you're like, oh, it's a test. I'm like, I just don't buy it. But that's my bad. So Kevin, what's your bad now? Going that I took your good.
For me, the scenes that really jumped out at me were when it's mostly the Hoth scenes where they're on the Tauntauns, and they go from the kind of poor claymation and then they cut close, and it's like, okay, now we're on an actor with a kind of a Tauntaun puppet head.
Just the face.
The hard cut from obvious claymation, not so good, great for the time, I'm sure. But that hard cut, I'm like, okay, that's the one effect. I mean, they get a lot of passes, but that's the one effect that you could see how wonky that
It's not smooth.
claymation work.
Yeah, it's either they got two shots, either wide as fuck or like
exactly. And then they cut
throat.
really close because they didn't want to show you the whole animal, so it was
Right.
the actor in just a little bit like
Right.
this.
The ice llamas, as I always refer to them.
Llamas.
Sil, what's your bad?
I think my bad is not a scene, but I think 3PO. It's a very interesting character. But the more I talk about him, the more I realize, like, okay, there's 3 secondary characters, or they got Chewie, you got R2D2, right, and then you got 3PO. Well, out of 3, only 1 speaks. Because guess what? He's got to do the translation for all the other 2, so he gets overdone. He's working overtime by just giving context and translating what everybody is saying, right? I mean, granted that everybody seems to understand each other, but for us, the only one giving context is just this guy, and it gets annoying.
Look, where is R2 when I need him? Sir, I don't know where your ship learned to communicate, but it has the most peculiar dialect.
So,
not my favorite.
The balance, like you hear, and then what happened was, this is what you want. And I'm like, yeah.
Like, shut up.
Well, it's interesting that like Luke understands everything R2 says. So you learn that language, right?
Yeah,
and Han understands everything Chewbacca says. Okay, so they both learned those. I'm sure they did, but it's just weird that that's the dynamic. So in the movie, is there ever a time where Han understands R2 and Luke understands Chewbacca, or is it a 1-to-1 relationship?
I don't remember.
I think it's a 1-to-1, right?
If they take the elective, if they took the elective in high school,
Han can talk to droids. Han can talk to droids because when he was fixing the top of the Falcon on Hoth, he was talking to another robot that was talking to him about the hyperdrive.
Interesting.
What was that quote from Thor Ragnarok that used to be?
He took Groot as an elective.
Yeah, it wasn't Ragnarok. It was
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
It
was an elective. It's cool.
Diaz, what's your bad?
I took droid.
You can't see the bad comedic dumb Yoda. I had to say it. But my whole thing with Yoda, it wasn't necessary for him to be like stupid. What was the point of testing him with his stupidity? Stupid people, even people with patience, would drive Obi-Wan nuts. Like anyone.
Team Yoda up here.
No, I can't do it, bro. That was my bad. But because Nick already broke that down so perfectly, epically, I guess my number 2 bad is kind of like what you said about the claymation, the wombas or whatever they were called, the things that you said that had the animals they rode. Yeah, the ice llamas. The animal cruelty to those damn things, man.
Tauntaun.
You got one scene.
That bitch open.
Wampa's the white guy that attacked
Yeti
at the beginning.
The Yeti, well, whatever the creature was that they were riding, like you said, the animal cruelty toward those things were unnecessary. Right. Okay,
your Tauntaun's going to die out there. Well, I guess I'll see you in hell.
Yeah, they knew.
I guess that would have been a good. That would have been a good quote too, right?
You know, they had no chance of surviving the cold, and they still took them out there. The Wampa ripped it to shreds and ate it in front of people. There was no animal rights for these aliens. That's fucked up. That's bad. Yeah. I don't like it.
And I know now. I know how DiCaprio got his Oscar. They took the Revenant scene from the guts of the Wampa. Well, no, from the ice.
The Tauntaun.
That also looks like tater tots inside.
Let's get into
ruined tater tots.
Napoleon, give me your tots. Let's get into the ugly. What is the one ugly scene? Because mine is, it's not ugly when you're watching the movie, but now that you understand the context of the trilogy as a whole and everybody's character relations, I think the ugly is when Leia lays a big old fat kiss on Luke, and then Luke gives the old, yeah. You're like, actually, Luke, you got, because that's gross. Kevin, do you have a different ugly?
Do you think they knew that they were going to write that into the storyline at some point?
I don't think so. I think that came in. I don't see what purpose that serves, knowing that you're just putting incest on screen. Like, I think that came in after the fact. I think
I'm with Nick.
So for ugly, maybe like the bad animation probably is more of an ugly scene, and this is more of probably just a bad scene. But when Luke decides to like just when he's in the big duel, and he decides to just jump off and like I'm just gonna kill myself here, and then it's I get it. They're on this planet that's supposed to be like a gas refinery or something, right? They mine gas, and he ends up in this giant lit thing. Big tunnel. It's got to be something important. And then he just ends up like in this like air shaft and then just pops out some garbage dump hatch and ends up hanging off an antenna.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't
Pretty
know. Like,
convenient.
That's how you could write this. He just ends up out this stupid hatch and hanging on an antenna. So where does this big, well-lit 200-story thing go? Oh, that just goes down to the hole that goes open to the antenna. Wait, we built all of this to go to the antenna hole?
That's true.
So that's probably bad. And
how about how many hole doors does the Millennium Falcon has from Lando to go all the way up to get Luke?
He found the one hole that was open.
The one hole was like one. Yeah. Do you see?
I think that scene could have been thought out more.
But the scene,
like
they parked down. He's like, I'll go get him.
So what was that shoot for? Like he slid down through all this wonderfully lit, perfectly stainless steel. Like what was it for? What was it? Like, what did it do? What was that?
That's for Stormtrooper break. That's when they go on break. They get to go into like the tunnels and have fun on the slides.
It's like a water slide.
They can breathe. They can breathe in space. But there was one scene where they went somewhere and they had these like gas masks.
They put the mask on when they
were inside the Exo Gorth, and they go out and they're
this fake ass mask.
It's really moist here. It's really moist.
Oh, those shits look like sleep apnea masks. Yeah. You know what? Hold on.
Because you're in somebody's mouth.
You get to see firsthand Diaz's sleep mask to go onto the asteroid and walk around. But
I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go.
That's all
You're not. That's what they need right there. That's how they survive the asteroid.
You can go to space. That was bad. No, but like, what I was talking about the hatch on the Millennium Falcon. Like when Lando tries to get out of the Millennium Falcon to catch Luke. Play that scene. You'll play. See how many doors open in order to get. Like I don't even know how tall the Millennium Falcon is.
Yeah, it's
but
just
there's
like
seven doors just open. He's like, okay. He keeps going. All right. There's one more.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Sil, what's your ugly scene?
My ugly was what you mentioned. I guess whatever I just shared, it kind of like comes out as we speak. But yeah, the kiss is just like
unnecessary.
Like nothing evolved from it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Diaz, what is your ugly?
Both kind of what you and Kev both said in a way, because the ugly to me is definitely the kiss, because there's no way they didn't have that planned out. Remember, Yoda on the island said, on the planet said, no, there is another. I believe it was always going to be the sister. Once that clue, the whole point of Leia and Luke's closest was never to get them together. They always said the closest because they had a bond. And remember, at the end of the movie, he reached out to her through the Force. He didn't reach out to her anyway. You can only do that with someone you love or someone like related to you. You know what I'm saying? So exactly. So I think they knew about the Luke and Leia thing. That's why that's ugly. However, Luke just lost his fucking hand. You mean to tell me he has the strength, all hurt and beat up, to hang upside down underneath a fucking building in the sky, upside down? No, listen, the antenna is just as ugly as the kiss, man.
Yeah.
Just as ugly as the kiss.
So let's jump into our time machine time. So we're going to cast swap. So you could pick any movie, any TV series, anything that you would like. and you could swap this out into this cast. So I will go first because I'm going to be going with Ocean's 11. So the way I'm going to play this.
Wow.
So the way I'm going to play this is I'm going to actually have Matt Damon as Skywalker, as Luke. I'm going to have Brad Pitt playing the Han Solo role. I have Julia Roberts as Princess Leia. I have Obi-Wan, who makes very small appearances, but I wanted to cast this character as George Clooney. He plays that older style. And then Lando is Bernie Mac. I didn't pick a Vader just because it can really be anybody. But that's who I would cast swap. I would cast swap this with Ocean's 11 and go with those characters because I knew I wanted Brad Pitt as Han Solo and I wanted that like 90s Star Wars, you know, like if this came out maybe 10 years later or 15 years later, that's the cast that I would have run with. But I'm curious what everybody else went with. So whoever's ready, feel free to drop yours because I'm really curious to see where other people went with this.
I think I'm ready.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I am going the cast from Spider-Man No Way Home, baby.
Okay. Lot to work with here.
Yeah. Now listen how I check out how I do this. My Luke Skywalker is Tom Holland. You know, young, wants to be the man, you know, trying to save the world. Luke is Tom Holland. Now I'm not going to go in order of certain characters, but Yoda is Benedict Cumberbatch is the voice of Yoda.
Benedict
Cumberbatch.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yoda.
he does the voice of what's his name in The Hobbit. He voices
didn't he do Smeagol? Right? No.
You could keep going and I'll search that up because I know he's a big voice actor.
Very small scene in it, but it was an eventful scene because remember, this is one movie, but the actors are going to come back for the sequels and all that. My Emperor is going to be Michael Keaton.
Okay.
Boba Fett is Tom Hardy.
Boba Fett.
Strong stuff.
You even casting Boba Fett? Jesus.
Yo, I'm just
Lando, you didn't even see the face.
No, but the voice. And Lando, I'm not picking him because he's black. Lando is actually, I'm going to do JB Smooth, not Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
JB Smooth because he looks like more of a dirtbag than Jamie Foxx. Yeah. The one of the teachers from No Way Home. He looks like more of an asshole than Jamie Foxx does.
Yeah.
Leia Zendaya. Chewie is John Favreau, just because I think it'll be funny. I gender swapped C-3PO, baby. C-3PO is not a guy. It's Melissa Tomei. Put an Italian accent on C-3PO instead of a British accent. Han Solo is Andrew Garfield, though. I think Andrew Garfield can be smooth. Yep. I put him as Han. Obi-Wan, even though it's a little bit of scene, it'll be William Dafoe. I think he could, instead of playing a villain, William Dafoe could play actually like a wise old guy.
That mentor.
And my Vader is Tobey Maguire.
Okay. Yeah, so Benedict did the voice of Smaug in the Hobbit trilogy.
Oh, the dragon, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And he did Shere Khan as well. And he did obviously the voice of like the Grinch and stuff like that. And he did the voice for Dormammu in Doctor Strange as well. So that's a good one. I like that. I was almost going to go Marvel route as well, but I feel like I'm going to go to that well a lot. So I want to like, when I can choose elsewhere, I will.
Same,
so who else is who's going up next? What do we got?
So we've already talked about this movie a bit. Let's use The Matrix.
Oh,
hey! Yeah. You must have loved the Cypher pick then.
Yeah.
And it's let's all work on this together. So because I'm like kind of bouncing around a little bit, but Keanu's got to be.
He's got to be a Luke, right?
I'm thinking just because his posture isn't like his stature isn't big enough to be. So if he's Luke, then I guess Hugo Weaver, which was Agent Smith, would be Han, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, Trinity is
Leia.
Princess, right? But then who's Cypher? Like, what is he?
Cypher would be Vader. Vader's
voice. Mate. Oh, there you go.
And Lawrence,
I always liked
let me guess,
the guy that played.
So I guess
Tank.
Lando has to be Morpheus.
Morpheus,
to
yeah.
play
So
the-
I
to play
would
the
I
part.
would have Lawrence Fishburne as Vader, and I would do Tank as Lando.
Oh, Tank! I forgot about Tank. He played a good part in that show too.
That's how I would kind of play it, because Lawrence has that voice and he has that presence, which is what was needed in the voice.
Actually, you could have Cypher be another betrayer. Cypher could be fucking Lando. He's good at betraying people.
Oh, that's a good point. Like we're talking about the betrayals,
The
right?
backstabbing asshole.
In every movie.
Let's see what's the Dozer was in it too, right? Jones.
Yeah, this cast has a lot. Where it's like I almost think Keanu, like, it depends too, right? Because we're in the time machine, so we can place this at this age where Keanu was a little younger. Because right now, present day Keanu, I can't picture him as Luke. But back when The Matrix came out, 99, I could buy that. He was on that younger side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Before he was full on John Wick and beard and long hair.
Oh, and then the woman who plays the Oracle too. She was good in that show as well.
She could play Yoda.
Yeah. Female Yoda, bro.
Oh.
I'm all about gender swapping. Diaz is woke, baby.
The cookies are done. Take a seat for you.
We're going with the Matrix.
All right.
Matrix. All right, I got mine. I'll do the Kevin too. I need some help here, but here we go. Ready or not? Vroom. Can you see me?
I was gonna do Fast Five. I had Fast Five pulled up as well.
No, you know what's
I was
funny?
gonna use this.
You did Fast and Furious, but you used cast from Fast 5. So
The Rock CP30.
Yeah, for sure. that was given. C3PO.
I had this movie pulled up too. I had this one.
That's so funny. I pulled up 4 and I'm like, no. I was missing Tyrese.
So you want a big? So The Rock's a big ass robot.
Vin Diesel's Chewbacca.
So is Paul Walker Luke?
Paul Walker's Luke.
He's got to be.
And right. I think Gal Gadot is
Leia.
Princess Leia.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd have Tyrese as Han.
Tyrese as Han. Oh, I had Han as Han.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I would have said Han as Lando.
Okay.
Yeah. Han as Lando.
I guess Ludacris. I don't know. Who knows? You know, where are the apps?
We got to find a spot for Ludacris. What's Ludacris? R2D2. He's
short.
short.
He could be 3PO. That'd be a fun. What's yes.
He could be the guy that are working it. He could be one of the guys working in the incinerator room when they're going to melt down.
Well, I mean, when we first get introduced to Ludacris in the Fast series, he's hacking ATM machines.
Yeah.
And that's what R2 does. He just goes in and hacks machines.
R2 from Atlanta. Yeah, I like it.
All right, so we got Paul Walker as
where do we put
Luke.
him?
I was going to have Vin Diesel as Chewbacca.
Okay, and then what about Dwayne Johnson?
I thought that was going to be your 3PO.
Darth Vader? No, you're Darth Vader?
3PO. The Rock?
Yeah, but like...
You need to get a Vader out of these.
You need a
he could be Vader. He's big enough to be Vader's. Like,
dude,
Vader
imagine Dwayne Johnson
as like a juiced up Darth Vader. Imagine
he'll choke you like this instead of like this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he just does a little choke.
Oh gosh,
I almost had that cast.
That's
I like that one. I like that one a lot. All right, Time Machine double feature. Another new little thing that we've been adding to the show now is pair this with any movie you want as a like double feature. Where obviously when we're doing a movie like Star Wars, it's so easy to pick a Star Wars movie, but then which one do you pick to kind of pair this up with? I didn't choose a Star Wars movie. I tried to pick something that was like had like a similar feel, but a little bit different. So if I pick anything for a Time Machine double feature, I'd pair this up with Raiders of the Lost Ark. We still have Harrison Ford, but it's still that like adventurous spirit. Spielberg and Lucas are like hand in hand buddies. That's what I would kind of go with my double feature. If we went to a drive-in and they were showing two movies, I'd go Raiders of the Lost Ark and Empire Strikes Back. But I'm curious what everybody else decided to pair this movie up with, because it's easy to go with, you know, either A New Hope or Jedi, or if you want to throw something in from the first three. I'm curious. So, D, do you have a movie that you would use for like a Time Machine double feature? What are you thinking?
I would have done another space trilogy because at the time there was more movies that came out after, just like there was more movies that came after this. I would have done the sequel, arguably one of the best sequels of all time. I would have done Aliens, another space movie. I would have watched Aliens after this.
Nice.
To do the comparison, like, okay, it upped the ante so much from the first one to the second one. It went from one alien to literally a fucking army of aliens, which was a dope concept to me. The action jumped up for me from Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back so much. I would have wanted to see some more aliens and more violence. The only thing more violent than Empire Strikes Back alien-wise is aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of with Diaz. I'm thinking about what is it? The Space Invaders movie? Is that what it's called? The one like a bunch of Space Trooper.
Oh, Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. Yeah,
man, that's good too.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that because I just want another action alien movie.
Yeah.
I would still stick to Aliens because it's a sequel. That's the only reason why.
Right.
But fuck, Starship Troopers was good, man.
Yeah.
Like good. That's a fucking horrible movie, but a great
movie.
Right.
Kevin, what's your time machine double feature?
Spaceballs.
Oh.
The Schwartz is strong. The Schwartz is strong with this one.
Foreshadowing.
All right. We also have a segment here where we do prequel, sequel, requel, remake, spin-off, or pass. I think Star Wars has made every single one of these things.
One of those. So check.
I'm sure they have.
Check and
so
check.
I'm curious. Does anybody have something they'd want to see? You know, we're seeing this new day and age of Disney Plus where they're doing these spin-off series of Obi-Wan and Asuka and all this other stuff that are like I don't want to say side characters because they had a big role, but they didn't dive too much into them. You know, they have the Mandalorian, they had the Boba Fett story, stuff like that. Is there like a story or a character you'd want to see? Is there, and the one that I have, I'll let somebody else go first, but mine is kind of like, it's not a character in particular. It's more of like an original idea that I kind of have. But Diaz, you were shaking your head. Yeah. So what's like the thing you want to see in the Star Wars universe?
When they were first starting it, when the first idea for a Star Wars TV show came out, when they first started The Mandalorian, when they're going to be a series on Disney Plus, I'm like, awesome. As much as Boba Fett was a good character, everyone thought that originally was going to be about him when they said The Mandalorian and all that. As soon as I heard of that, I had an idea from that time, and I've been telling everybody about it when they talk about Star Wars TV shows. Boot camp. Call a series a trooper and literally follow the next best stormtrooper. We don't have a single stormtrooper of note. Add a stormtrooper character to the series that's fucking badass. Like a stormtrooper that can go hand in hand with droids. A stormtrooper that doesn't use the force, but I don't want to say can use it, but it's force.
He picks up on it a little bit.
Yeah, like he can sense the force. He can't wield the force, but he can go, shit. There's people in here that I can sense that people in here more powerful. There's somebody's in here. Like literally a trooper show a boot camp for the soldiers and make one of the soldiers like the best stormtrooper of all fucking time.
It's a part of my ignorance here, but isn't one of Ray?
Yeah, the newer trilogy.
Yeah, the first movie of her wasn't one of the stormtroopers like this black guy that joined her.
Yeah, so he was like a trooper. I forget the character's name, but
right.
Yeah,
Finn something.
Yeah, it was Finn.
He was a trooper, a stormtrooper, right?
Yeah, he was a stormtrooper. That was John Boyega as Finn.
Is that like the first time?
Force Awakens.
Yeah,
I thought they were robots. To be honest, I didn't know.
But yeah, every time that was like the first time we kind of got a glimpse of like, oh, a trooper's like actually a person.
They sweat in there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I would have loved to see that training montage, like
yeah, how
working out,
what's the process, what's the training, all that stuff. Still, what's your like? If you could pick a Star Wars thing,
I got it.
Yeah,
bedtime stories with C-3PO.
It's a 24-hour loop of him talking.
$1 million idea.
It's gotta be an episode where somebody takes him out on the town, like clubbing.
You see, like what is the video of?
And he's like putting the moves on all the girls at the bar.
Baron Zemo dancing.
Oh yeah, 3PO meeting up with like a female version of him and trying to go on dates, like a
in
sitcom,
nowhere.
a comedy sitcom with C-3PO.
That is actually $1 million idea. Bedtime with C-3PO. Stories from all over the galaxy. A story on the cold island of Hoth. One day there was a small Wampa that wanted to, and he knows all these languages, so there's nothing but endless characters. Dog, it's a stupid ass gold mine.
God, Kevin, what is your Star Wars wish list?
Great idea.
The beginning stories of Yoda as a
Master
very
Yoda.
young Jedi, how he became to be the master.
As the baby
Young, yeah.
So
series or movie? Series, right? You want
either a series would be good because they could spend more time with the storyline. But how? I forget. Did he say he was 500 years old or 800 years old? I forget what it was.
More than 800. He was training Jedi for over 800.
Where did he come from? How did he become a Jedi? How did he become the master?
So mine, I kind of want it like to follow more just like the human characters that are not necessarily a part of the Star Wars world, but this is like in the future. And it's almost like a National Treasure style hunting thing of like unearthing the history of the first ever Jedi, what they refer to as the Prime Jedi, and like the first ever Sith Lord. Like I want somebody to dive into the history. I think I want it set in present day where they're uncovering the history of it and finding out that like, the Prime Jedi is still like in essence somewhere. Like he's so powerful. He's still alive, but he just kind of sits back and watches how it goes and still maintains the power of the Force. Because I don't want it to be just a straight origin story of like the first Jedi, but I want that whole story to unravel to us. So I think that'd be fun because I want to see something on the Prime Jedi.
I just thought of something. It had not really what you had anything to do with you said, but a little bit because you said the first Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Remember they talked about, I don't know what episode. It might have been episode 2, the Clone Wars, maybe, where they talked about at one point the Sith were all over the world. There was millions of Sith till they all turned on each other. A movie called The Rise of the Sith, like episode 0 or episode nothing, like a random movie, the Fall of the Sith. Show how when the Jedi and Sith were both at full capacity, how the Sith destroyed themselves, how the rule of 2 came to be, how there can only be 2 of them because when there were 100, it was all out fucking anarchy.
Yeah.
Show literally the fall of that, how that rule came out would be dope because you see a lot of badass villains taking out each other. So that'd be cool to be like, damn, if he was still alive, or would he handle Vader? Oh, dude, he's better than Maul, like shit like that.
I like that. So before we get out of here, let's do our popcorn scale rating. This is a scale of 1 through 5, 1 being burnt, crappy, terrible, you don't want it, all the way to 5, which is that perfectly golden buttered popcorn. Where does this movie land for you on the popcorn scale? Kevin, how high is this? I know it's high, but how high?
I'm guilty of always wanting to leave a little room because I need that the next time. So I'm going to go 4.
Okay. All right. Still, where did this land for you?
A solid 4.
A 4? All right.
Solid 4. Very, very great movie.
Diaz?
4.
Wow, everyone's 4s. Okay. I was gonna go 4.
Go 4 then.
Go
Stick
4.
to it.
I'll go 4. 4 for 4.
It's 4 of us. 4 for 4.
I wanted to say 4.5, but I don't think it's that close to being a 5. But it's really good.
And it's
so
a 4, not solely based on the quality of the movie. Part of it's just because of what it did for movies, right? It's part of that.
Huge. If this movie flopped, there would be no Star Wars universe, right? Like you could have a great first movie, and if the second one was the nail in the coffin, they would have said.
So if there was no other movies, like this was a one of, this movie, came out in 80, you watched it, that was the last of anything you heard Star Wars. Doesn't get the same rating, right?
Right.
Hello?
Okay, so I'm going to the Dagobah system.
You gotta speak up.
I'm going to the Dagobah system.
I still can't hear you.
I said I'm going to...
It's a machine. I gotcha. Pew, pew. You've reached Han Solo. Please leave a message after the blorp.
Alrighty, well, that is it, folks. Thank you again for joining us in the Popcorn Time Machine this week. Again, if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, leave us a 5-star review. If you are watching us on YouTube, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, comment on the videos. We love to interact with everybody. But let's send this movie back to 1980 and begin our reprogramming of the Popcorn Time Machine. We will see you all next time with another blast from the past.
Force be with you.
May the 4th
be kind, rewind. Yeah, happy May 4th. Happy the 4th.